Good morning and welcome to our 41st weekly broadcast. If this is the first time you've joined us, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. And so the way it works is I answer all questions. I'm the last person on this call. The call never ends until I've answered all questions. Our record is over 8 hours straight. It was a lot of fun. So as you can see, I've made a couple of changes here to my studio. I got this brick wall here. And actually, that's not a real brick wall. What you're seeing there is are a bunch of panels I bought, and the panels are $30. It's amazing. I got it from Home Depot. It's fun. It's a real plant there. Shelf with the cameras from a course that's coming out soon of mine called the Complete Video Course. I'm also doing the Complete YouTube course, which is coming out shortly as well. So anyway, having a lot of fun with this. If you have questions about video cameras as well, I'm more than happy to answer them as well. This is your time. Ask me business questions, career questions, personal questions, camera questions, any questions you want to, and I'll humbly provide you with my thoughts on each of your questions. Thank you. All right, so there's a number of questions here in the queue. This is awesome. Please keep typing them, everybody. So let me move my table down a touch. Get the keyboard out. Okay, good. All right, so the first question is from Anadi. Anadi, how are you? So I went over the annual report of the company, just the financial data, and I saw that the negative shareholder equity was because of losses over at least a few years, as well as due to an increase in debt. Can you please explain the concept of financialization of housing? I Googled it, but don't have the clarity of what it means exactly. Also, is it a good thing or a bad thing for the economy? I'm not sure what you mean by the financialization of housing, but I do think that I think that buying a house or an apartment is probably the best investment most people will ever make. If you buy a house or an apartment early, meaning in your 30s if you can, I bought my first apartment when I was 31, I think. It was right after 9/11, I think, in New York. But it's one of the best investments you'll ever make because think about how much money you're wasting on rent every month. And I have a spreadsheet that I can provide you with if you're interested, which will show you that if you change 5 small spending habits, that your net worth will be over $30 million higher in 50 years than it is now. And one of the biggest components of that is your house or your apartment, and as well as your retirement savings program. So if you save $600 every month and put it into your house instead of paying rent, and if you maxed out your annual retirement savings program, which is $18,500 in the United States, other countries have similar numbers. They're not called 401ks, they're called something else. But if you maximize your 401k every year and you also buy your own house, then you will have close to $30 million saved actually in about 50 years. And so if you have additional questions on that, please let me know. All right. If I didn't answer your question properly, Anadi, please let me know. Thanks, man. All right. What else we got here? So the question is, regarding the issue of downloading your videos, you could look at stamping the video and the name of the account holder when they access the videos or download the videos. That would be a deterrent for somebody to just circulate your video, and being able to download them would be so much more convenient for all of us, especially since we can simply download them and watch them in situations where we don't have internet access, such as a lunch break in the office or while traveling when signals are not that great. Now, I completely understand, and I am looking into this still. I know that if you watch one of my courses on Udemy, what happens is you see a Udemy stamp in the corner. I'm not sure if they've done the stamping for individual people that download them yet. I know that PDFs do this quite often. And I do get my courses pirated every now and then, but Udemy's awesome. You know, what they'll do is they'll actually get their lawyers and go out and send takedown notices. They say it in a nicer way than I would. But I also have a cease and desist letter set up from my lawyer, which helps. And I've also copyrighted my stuff as well in case there ever has to be, God forbid, litigation. But thank you very much for that. I'm still looking into it. I'm making a course right now with Matt, who's a golf professional, a really smart guy, and a videographer too. And what we're doing is we're going to make that one available for download, that course, so you can take it on the course with you. In between shots, you can look at, how do I shoot a sand shot again? And it'll be downloaded on your iPhone or Android handset. But we are looking at this, and thank you very much for the feedback. As always, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next one is from Lawrence. Lawrence is saying, hello, Chris. Hello, Lawrence. How are you? Could you share some of your thoughts on artificial intelligence potentially replacing financial services jobs? Yeah. So I think that most financial services jobs are sales oriented. They are. If you work on a trading floor, you work in sales. If you're the CEO of any financial services company, or any company for that matter, you're a salesperson. And if you're an investment banker, in order to make it to the top, you have to be a great salesperson. Because what happens is you have to make great relationships with CEOs in Fortune 500 companies and global companies in order to get their business. And so I don't think that artificial intelligence will ever outsource sales entirely, because sales is about relationship and not product knowledge. Technology is very good at product knowledge, but it's very binary, like that guy Data from Star Trek New Generations. So I think that the roles within financial services that eventually will get disintermediated or replaced by technology include the ones where it's a very manual process, like trading. Not all traders, but most trading positions. So what people call execution trading now. And basically, computers can do that. You set the limit order, call option, strike price, whatever it is, and computers will do it for you. We all do it when we transact online anyway. So I think that a lot of technology jobs or technology products are going to take over the trading function. But sales will never be outsourced. In terms of picking stocks, there are some companies that do quite well by creating these big black box Linux server farms, so to speak. So, for example, Renaissance Technologies, which is an amazing hedge fund. It's founded by this brilliant guy, Jim Simmons, and his son, who actually lives out here in Berkeley. They have an office here as well in California. And what they do is they make 30 or 40% every single year, almost every year. And they have a couple thousand computers or Linux servers running in a data center, and they pick stocks based on different inputs. For example, and they'd never tell us what their inputs are or how their algorithm works in that black box. But for example, let's say it's forecast to rain a lot, or it has rained a lot this month. Then restaurant stocks will probably not do as well because people don't go out as often, especially for lunch while they're working to eat if it's raining. And so these black box trading algorithms are really tough to master. And there's only a handful of companies that have done it correctly in the world. Goldman Sachs had this product called the Alpha Fund, which is similar to Renaissance, and they do something commensurate as well, and they do well as well. The only issue with these black box trading systems is, yes, they can pick stocks for you, but they cannot read a management team. If you're talking to the CEO in a public forum, and the CEO is usually really upbeat, and she or he is kind of negative when asked certain questions, then what happens is it might indicate that business is not going that well. And computers can't really understand that yet. One day they'll be able to, but not at this point. And so the bottom line is, I think that trading jobs will be outsourced to technology, and you'll see more artificial intelligence-based trading algorithms going forward as well. Now, there's two sectors that haven't really been disintermediated or disrupted by technology as much as others. One is financial services and the other one is healthcare, because they're both heavily regulated industries. Well, thank goodness we're starting to see now a lot of innovation in those sectors, especially the fintech or financial technology sector. I used to be on the advisory board of a large angel investment firm here, Bootcamp, picking fintech companies. The name of that company that picked those companies to invest in was Plug and Play Tech Center. And basically, a lot of big banks are now partnering with angel or bootcamp organizations like Plug and Play Tech Center in order to have them help them come up with new ideas or new startups to invest in from a tech perspective. And so Citigroup, for example, does that. They invest in Plug and Play Tech Center. That's publicly disclosed. And Citigroup actually has a very big venture capital division here in Palo Alto on University Street. And so a lot of these banks or financial services companies are pouring billions of dollars every single year into R&D, into coming up with new fintech ideas. And I'm sure a lot of that money is going to artificial intelligence-based algorithmic R&D as well. And so a lot of large banks like Wells Fargo and B of A spend about $10 billion, that's right, every year on technology. And they have their own what are called sandboxes internally in their companies where they'll beta test cool new products. And I think a large part of that in the future is going to be beta testing artificial intelligence-based algorithms. The last thing I'll say about that is there's a company that I invested in. I sold my stake recently called Palantir. It's still private. And Palantir is now the largest employer here in Palo Alto, bigger than Facebook. And what Palantir does is they solve the world's biggest problems using complex algorithms. And so one of their products is called, I think it's called Metropolis. I think so, yeah. And one of their products actually was used to help the Obama administration find Osama bin Laden. And that product is actually also used to help financial services companies uncover vulnerabilities in their systems using artificial intelligence. Big governments use Palantir software as well for human trafficking and solving the war on drugs globally, that sort of thing. And so if you're interested in learning more about artificial intelligence, I think the poster child best company on the planet right now in that area is a company called Palantir. And if you have additional questions about that, please let me know. And thanks as always. All right. That was a long answer. All right. Next up is... All right. If you're just joining us, please type your questions now. I answer the questions in the order in which they are received. I feel like I'm a tech support person on the phone. In the order in which I receive them. If I don't answer your question, then please just paste them again. Thank you. All right, next one is Lawrence is saying, if I hope to work in firms like Pollen Capital, which is a growth investment management firm, as a research analyst, in addition to financial analysis skills, what skills and experience do I need? Yeah, so I would say that there's a couple of things in business that are not common sense. A lot of business is common sense. But learning the language of business is crucial. And the language of business, which is global, is the language of finance and accounting. You have to learn those skills. You have to learn them. And so accounting is backwards looking. It's more of a science, right? You're reporting what already occurred. And finance is more of an art. You're forward looking because you're projecting what's going to happen. And you have to feel comfortable with uncertainty in finance because when you're predicting the future and creating financial models, you have to understand that if you pick a target price in the future based on your financial model that's within 10 or 15%, that's pretty darn good. But there's that level of uncertainty, and that's why finance is more of an art. It's like you're a painter, whereas accounting is more of a science. It's backwards looking. And so I think that if you want to work in investment management at a company like Pollen or others, then I think you have to understand finance and accounting. That's a good segue into how to learn more about finance and accounting. Well, I have a course which is called Introduction to Finance Accounting, Modeling and Valuation. It's 4.5 hours long, and it will teach you everything you need to know from an introductory perspective about accounting and finance. And I teach it in a much more visual way. Like when I talk about assets and liabilities and equity and on the balance sheet, I talk about a scale and why it's called what it is. And I have to say that I got a D in accounting the first time I took it. It was 1991 at McGill University. I am dating myself there. And I got a D, and I want you to learn from my failure, please. And I took it again. I did better than a D the second time. But I got a D because when I was studying accounting for the exams at McGill University, I tried to memorize stuff instead of understanding it. And we all know that in high school, you can do well if you memorize stuff. And then once you get to university, if you decide to go to university, then if you memorize stuff, then you don't do as well on tests. You have to understand them. And if you understand financial statements, then you can read financial statements like a good book, right? It's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And so take my Introduction to Finance Accounting Modeling and Valuation course if you want to. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee with all my courses. That's 4.5 hours. It'll teach you the basics of finance and accounting. Now, if you want to learn much, pardon me, if you want to learn much more about finance and accounting and how to value companies and how hedge funds work, you can take my course called Hedge and Mutual Fund Careers, the Complete Guide. Or what you can do is take my other course, which is a long one, 22 hours long, called the Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course. And that 22-hour long course is based on my real life practical experience, not based on theory. And in that course, it's kind of fun. I kind of make a fool of myself, laugh at me, not with me in that course. But I say, welcome to my company. And you're in the boot training program. And the name of my company is Morgan Haroun Sachs, MHS, which is not a real company. Please don't sue me, Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. But I walk you through the training program of how these big banks treat you, or teach you everything, I should say, in 14 main different financial analyst positions. You know, from working at a hedge fund, private equity firm, investment banking, sales, trading, equity capital markets, etc. And so that actually might be pretty good training for you before you start working at Pollen Capital, or for anybody else in the call that wants to learn how to invest like the professionals do on Wall Street. Unfortunately, there's no other course I know of that teaches you practical stuff. And one of the problems with business education is that it teaches you theoretical stuff that people don't really use in the real world as much. And so I pride myself on teaching based on my real life practical experience, not based on theory, because I've worked at Goldman Sachs, a couple of hedge funds. I started my own hedge fund, started my own venture capital firm. I worked in venture capital, also worked in the consulting industry in different sectors. And so I teach you what you need to know in order to be humbly successful in whatever financial services sector you want to work in. And as always, if you have additional questions, please let me know, and thank you. All right. I'm kind of bummed out, man. I was cleaning up my my room here last night, and this here is my coffee warmer, right? You know, I've showed you guys this before. It's made by a company called Kosori. It's amazing. You got to get this on Amazon. I'm not compensated. And when I was doing this, what happened was I lost the label. I couldn't find it. So, and I'll get to the rest of your question in a second. I want to show you guys this again here. So this is this looks like a real brick wall. It's actually cardboard. Listen. It's cardboard, and the panels come in 4 feet by 8 feet, and I put 3 of them up here. They're $30 each. I got them from Home Depot, which is a hardware store here in the United States. And I also gotta be careful. I'm connected to the wire this time. I also put in these floors. Now, these floors here, they're actually the same size panels. They're $10 each, and I bought 3 of them. They're cheaper. They don't look as nice as the wall. This was supposed to be for a wall. This is actually just cardboard here. And I did this because what I'm doing, and I put in curtains and whatnot, and if you look up high, I've got 3 rolls of paper, green, white, and black, and this is the backdrop here. Because what I'm doing is I'm creating a course called the Complete YouTube course, and another course called the Complete Video course, which both are coming out soon. And I wanted to change sets really quickly. And so throughout this call, I'm actually going to be changing sets a couple times. I'm not going to bother using green screen today because I made a mistake when I was getting dressed this morning. There's a little bit of green right here on this color wheel. And incidentally, last thing I'll say about this is that with the color wheel, you'll notice that if you're making images for YouTube thumbnails, for example, what I want you to do is this. And I'll explain it in more detail in my course. I want you to use colors that are opposite each other. So a lot of times people use like an orange yellowish and a purple. You see that? And what that will do is they'll complement each other. The colors look great. So always try to pick opposite colors on the color wheel. And yes, there's lots of other tips I'm going to teach you as well about creating great images, as well as how to create YouTube vlogs, as well as what titles to choose your YouTube strategy, etc. And I want to give a big shout out to one of my students that I actually met here on this weekly call. Her name is Sasha Stevenson. And in week number 10, she reached out to me. And she started giving me advice on my vlog. And I thought, oh my God, that's so nice of her to give me advice. And remember how I always mention that if you give, you receive in business. Business is all about networking, and you have to give from your heart and want to help people. And so what I did was I was so grateful to Sasha that I asked her if she wanted to make a course together called the Complete YouTube course, which is coming out soon. And Sasha, she's Canadian living in Indonesia. I've never met her. I probably never will. We've talked a lot on the phone over WhatsApp, and she just passed 100 million views on her YouTube channel. She's a big sensation over in Indonesia. So anyway, that course of ours is going to be coming out shortly as well. And what I did was I put a floor down here also because what I'm doing is I'm attaching a camera to the ceiling, and it's going to be this Sony here. It's a Sony A7 III with really cool lens, and it's going to look down, and I'm going to show how a camera works by taking apart a camera. And I also from a medical school. A medical school education company, what I did was I bought a big plastic eye. And so what I'm going to do is I have a camera that's going to be on the ceiling there that's going to point down and show you everything. And I've got an ugly carpet underneath this, so I put these cardboard planks here for now. And as always, if anybody has questions about this or anything else, please let me know. I've made all the mistakes you can possibly make when it comes to making videos. So anyway, if I can humbly help, please let me know, and thank you. All right, next up is Lawrence is saying, if I say that I've done basic coding projects with Python or SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language, which we use with databases to find information in fields. So the question is, if I've done basic coding projects with Python or SQL, also pronounced SQL, how might this add value to them? Thank you so much, Chris. This is for a financial services company. Yeah. So that's a great question, Lawrence. And I know from your previous question that you're also interested in becoming a research analyst. So it sounds like, and maybe this is the case, that you have tech skills and financial services companies might hire you for your tech skills, but your interest might be in transferring to research within a big financial services company. People do this all the time. I've known a lot of people that have started in technology and tech support that have gone on to become research analysts and done exceptionally well at companies like Goldman Sachs, et cetera. And what happens is it's really interesting. And all my answers are generic enough to apply to everybody humbly on this call. But it's really interesting because a lot of people go from the mailroom with no education to the corner office, meaning the CEO. And the reason why so many people become CEO that start in the mailroom is because they're very friendly. And business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. And so, for example, if I work in the mailroom and I'm going around and giving out mail every day to senior executives, I might say something like, great game last night. The Raptors won again, which I hope they win tonight. It's game one of the finals, the NBA finals. The Raptors have never been there before. It's Toronto, my team. But you're bonding with people if you work in the mailroom. I think it's a great place to start. I do. And a lot of CEOs, just do a search on CEOs that actually started in the mailroom. It'll blow you away, including the founder and CEO of Interactive. But I think that in general, Lawrence, if you want to work in research and you don't have research experience, but you think you have really sellable skills when it comes to Python or SQL, as you mentioned here, then get your foot in the door and start working in tech, and then transfer to a research department. A lot of people have done it. Anybody can do it. All you got to do is network. And what I recommend doing is please, if you get a chance, I want you to read this book here cover to cover. It's a free book of mine. You can go to my website, harounventures.com, and download it. And basically, it'll teach you how to network and how to get a meeting with anybody. Yes, anybody. And so when you work in this company, I want you to meet as many people as you can, especially in the first 2 weeks. And that goes for anybody starting a new job, because it's kind of like high school or university. Remember the first year? How in the first 2 weeks, it was easy to make friends, and those friends are still your friends for life. So I want you to mentor or meet a lot of people in the first 2 weeks, including mentors, if you can. Then ask them every now and then to sit down for a cup of coffee. And then eventually, what I want you to do using what I teach in this free book here is I want you to ask one of these mentors to help you transfer to another department if that's what you want to do. And it's really important to be mentored by assistants as well. Yes, because assistants know how the game works. They've been there for years, right? They know how people transfer between departments. They understand the corporate culture as well. And if you're a jerk to an assistant, they're going to tell their boss anyway. So a lot of people don't get it. They're mean to assistants or other people in the company, and Anyway, mean people suck. But what I would also do, Lawrence, is if you're trying to understand how to add value to a financial services company and you're interviewing and you have a couple of technical skills, then what I would do is a couple things. I would take my complete job course, because in that course, I teach you and I provide you with many templates that you can bring to your interviews, which add value. And you always have to think from the other term's perspective in business before every meeting, because every battle is won before it's been fought. That's a famous quote from Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And so let's think about this. Everybody in business that we're going to meet with is probably motivated by three things. They want to make more money, they want to save more, they want to make more money, they want to get promoted faster, and they want to have fun. They want to enjoy what they do, work with great people. And so before you go in that meeting, think about, if you're meeting with a salesperson, how can I make them more money? Well, I can bring a one-page write-up on all of my contacts that I'd be happy to introduce them to that might want to buy their product. And if you want to take that one step further, then what you do is before the interview, you go out and you network a lot to meet people that might be potential customers for that salesperson. Now, when it comes to technology, what you can do is you can bring in a one-pager which discusses a new app or a great new cloud software product that you've beta tested, which could add tremendous value to this company you're interviewing with, which is called, looks like you're Pollen Capital, right? So there's actually actually mention this. I used to be an investor. I'm not anymore. I sold my stake in a private company called Alpha Theory, and they're in North Carolina. So do a search on that, because Alpha Theory, and again, I'm not getting compensated at all, but what they do is they help you to create a portfolio, and then they teach you how to manage that portfolio so you can generate alpha, which means how much better you're doing than the stock market in general. That's called alpha. And so check that out if you want. You could also, if you wanted to, and this is a little bit, this is really ambitious. You can take a course from Angela Yu on Udemy, or Rob Percival on how to make apps. And you can make an app for that financial services company. Or what you can do is you can take a course from Rob Percival on Python. Rob's a great teacher and a good buddy on Udemy. And you could actually bring some of that code, or at least an outline of a code, of some code you're going to make or have made that will help them pick stocks. Okay, and you can do research before that meeting if you want by taking my course, the Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course. And I also recommend that you look into Renaissance Technologies, which is a great hedge fund that has a black box algorithmic trading system, thousands of Linux servers running in parallel that pick stocks. And maybe you can create something along those lines. Obviously, it's really tough to do the entire thing before an interview. But while you're interviewing, you can kind of mention that. You can say that, I've done a lot of research on Renaissance Technologies. I'm passionate about finance. I have experience using Python and SQL here. And so I created this software product. I'm still working on it now that will help us to pick stocks. And I even created an easier version of this, hypothetically speaking, which is just based on VBA, or Visual Basic for applications within Microsoft Excel. And here's what it looks like. And Lawrence, what you can do is, if you take my Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course, I provide you with an Excel spreadsheet that will help to manage a portfolio for you. And I'll give you permission, and everybody, I don't care, to use that, customize it yourself, and bring that to your interview. Okay, bring that to your interview on your laptop. It'll blow them away. And they all use Excel. It's just what the financial services industry uses. I know a lot of us don't use Excel, but that's still what they use. So you can do that. Last thing I'll say is, if you want, you can take my Complete Personal Finance course, where I create a portfolio management system for you in Excel that you can use, which will help you to pick and diversify and manage a portfolio consisting of stocks, bonds, REITs, that's real estate investment trusts, as well as commodities. So if you have additional questions on that, or if I can be resourceful in any other way to you with your upcoming interview, please let me know, and best of luck. All right. Next up is hey, the Will of Dee. What up, dog? The Will of Dee is on the call. So the Will of Dee, for everybody on this call who don't know, is from Morocco. Awesome. Great to have you, buddy. Great to have you. You said drink water. You're totally right. You're totally right. So a couple of months ago, on, I don't know, it was week 20 or something, what I did was I explained how one of my problems is I eat the correct foods and everything. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. I exercise. But my biggest problem, or one of my biggest problems, is I don't drink enough water. And so what I did, and again, I'm not compensated by anybody, was I bought this product called Thermos Smart Lid. It's less than $30. You can get it on Amazon. And it attaches to Bluetooth here, and it monitors using my Fitbit or my iPhone, actually, how much water I drink throughout the day. And so you're supposed to drink, between 4 and 8 glasses of water a day, which is, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these things. And I don't drink enough. So thank you very much for that reminder, Will of Dee. And also, one more thing I want to mention. So I'm part of this whole QS movement, or quantified self movement, meaning I have a Fitbit, and I actually have this thing here I want to show you. It's called the Whoop. I've used this for a couple of years. Whoop, there it is. So WHOOP. And it doesn't look like much, but most basketball players wear these now underneath their wristband. And what it does is it tracks a lot of things that the iPhone doesn't track, and that the Fitbit doesn't track as well. And the science goes over my head a bit, but what I love about it is this. It will warn me. At the end of each day, I'll get a report. And there's tons of data. I love it. I'm a nerd. I get it. But it will warn me if I'm about to get sick. Okay, and I'm sure this isn't sponsored by the FDA at all, but it's a smart Harvard dude in Boston that made this product. But I love that because sometimes when I start to feel a little bit sick, if I exercise, I get really sick. Or if it tells me I'm starting to get sick, whatever, I'll have echinacea and more vitamin C. So it's a pretty cool product. Another thing I want to show you is this. So I noticed that, so I noticed that my posture is actually getting worse. And I noticed it on this call, and I want to see if I can show you here in live view. I didn't turn the camera on there because there's a stupid government rule that DSLR cameras cannot stay on for more than 29 minutes. Otherwise, what happens is the EU says that they would be classified as video cameras, and you have to pay a heck of a lot more tax. That's why you heard that click. But so if you look at me sideways here, my posture actually is getting a bit worse. Right, it's getting worse. And with my kids, I always, they're at the dinner table. I say, yeah, you sit up, whatever, because when you're growing, if your posture's bad, it'll be bad forever. So no one's here to, and my parents used to tell me that too, but no one's here to kind of tell me that, my posture's not great. And so I got to parent myself. And so I bought this product here. I'm beta testing it still. It's made by, actually, I don't even know who it's made by. I think it's an Israeli company because they sent me an email from Israel. But this thing here, it vibrates whenever my posture is bad, right? And so here's a light here. Let's see if you can hear the vibration. Yeah. So, and I put it on my back here. And then what happens is whenever my posture is kind of bad like this, it'll beep. It'll beep. It'll vibrate. There's no electric shock, although that would be a cool idea. So anyway, that's what I'm using right now, just to improve my posture, because I really noticed it when doing this this side view here. All right, here we go. I'm sitting up now. All right, next question is, thank you, Will, for the comments in the background. Appreciate it, dude. Thank you. Willem's on the call. Willem, how are you? I miss you, man. Willem was on our first 3 calls. I remember that, first 3 or so. Then he skipped a bunch. And then I haven't seen you since week 15-ish, I think, or so. And Willem actually was the guy that won the first contest on my call, which was I held up a driver's license. And he had to tell me what movie that driver's license was from. And it was from the movie Superbad. McLovin! Anyway, it's funny fake ID, and I actually bought the fake ID as well. I got to show you guys what it looks like. It's kind of funny. And if you haven't seen the movie Superbad, please turn this call off right now and watch it. Okay, let's go. McLovin ID. Here it is. Okay, it's the worst fake ID ever. Right. So here it is. Here, And he wanted fake ID so he could, he could go party, whatever. Don't make fake ID, folks, please. But what he did was he got one from Hawaii. It's off-center. It's so awful. And he just called himself McLovin. And that's how he got into the bars, I guess. But I bought one of these things, and what I did was when I go to New York or Brazil even, what happens is a lot of buildings, before I go in, they want to see my ID. And I show them that ID. I don't show it to TSA on the airplane. No way, man. I'd be in jail now. Guantanamo, maybe. So Harold and Kumar just popped in my mind. Guantanamo, funny movie. But what I would do is I would show that ID. And the amazing thing is I would get 2 reactions. And I showed it at the hospital too, and my kids loved it. What they do is people either laugh, younger people, whatever, when they see it, or they go, okay, that's good. It's crazy. It's nutty. It's nutty. Anyway, kind of funny. I showed Andrew. Andrew, my son, asked for it the other day. I was like, no way, man. No way. He's 15. I'm sure I'm not going there. I don't know anything. Don't ask, don't tell. All right. So next one. So thank you, Willem. Brings a smile to my face when I see you here. Thank you. And welcome back. The prodigal Willem. Welcome back. All right. Will of Dee is saying, guess who just set up his Chrome plus lighting plus camera? Oh, dude, you did it. I miss you more, man. Thanks for that comment. I was a little busy as we are in our holy month of Ramadan. That's right. That's right. Last night I talked to Sasha Stevenson, one of my students. Actually, we talked on the phone over WhatsApp. We're making the complete YouTube course together, and she wants to work really, really hard full time on this right now, this course, because it's Ramadan. She has a lot of spare time, which is great. That's cool, man. That's cool. All right. But yeah, dude, the Will of Dee, I want to see it, man. I want to see your course. And that goes for anybody in the call. I want to see what your Udemy course looks like. I never get compensated, please, at all for mentioning this stuff. I just want to humbly help. And I think we all have something to teach, because when one teaches, two learn. Okay. All right. Oh, and Willem wants me to show the cameras in the back. Yeah, absolutely. And so here's what I'm doing. And I think you guys will find this interesting. I'm trying to teach videography and cameras in a way it's never been taught before. And I've always been so frustrated. Close that door there. I've always been so frustrated when I make these courses, or pardon me, when I learn about photography, because what happens is I get freaked out by stuff like ISO, frames per second, aperture, f-stop. So confusing. So what I did is I actually bought this. So this here is the same camera model, exact same camera model that was used by a guy named Abraham Zapruder. And Abraham Zapruder was the guy that filmed the Kennedy assassination back in 1963. And what he did was, and I'm recreating just the video, and I'm not showing all the gory parts, please, in the course. But I've got a green screen that I'm going to use to pull down, and I've got a treadmill, which I'm painting green. And I'm going to go back in time to that day. And I'm going to teach you about videography that day using this camera. This is the exact same thing, right? It's kind of a historic camera, right? And so basically what I'm going to teach is this. So when you're shooting a video, it doesn't matter if it's on a DSLR or other type of camera, you always have to be cognizant of the frames per second, okay? And so what happened was Abraham Zapruder, he filmed in 1963 a 26.6 second event as the Kennedy motorcade drove down by the grassy knoll. And then that was 26.6 seconds. And when he got the film developed, he had about 450 frames, right? Basically, a video camera is just like a camera, except it takes lots of pictures. So in 26.6 seconds, he took 466 pictures, about roughly. So if you take 466 pictures divided by 26.6 seconds, that means there's 18 frames or pictures taken for every second there is that he took the video. And it's a little choppy because of that. And so that's how I'm teaching frames per second in the course, right? It's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a smoke machine as well, just for effect when we go back in time. Anyway, it'll be a blast. It'll be a blast. So that's how I'm teaching that. I'm also using a lot of other ways to teach as well. Like I'm taking apart, I already took apart a camera. And so let me show you another one here, just really, really quickly. So before I go there, there's, so Steven Spielberg. So this movie was made by J.J. Abrams, and it was produced actually by Steven Spielberg, but it was really an homage from J.J. Abrams to Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg, his life changed when he was in the 50s and 60s as a kid because he discovered this, the Super 8 camera. And so the Super 8 camera, it looks like this. Okay, there's a couple different renditions of it as well. This company, Bell and Howard, made tons of them. And what it does, it's called Super 8 because it records on 8mm film. And 8mm film is really, really thin film. And then what you do is after you've recorded the film and gotten it developed, you use a cutter like this to actually cut the 8mm film, right? It feeds right into here and then you slice it. And the reason I'm showing this also in the course is because if you understand how filmmaking used to work, like cutting and stuff, then you'll understand how to edit videos better in Final Cut or Premiere Pro because of little icons like the cutting icon, etc. Right? It makes it more fun to learn it this way too, because if you understand why things are the way they are, then you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. But what happened was Steven Spielberg discovered this camera, the Super 8, when he was younger. It changed his life. And then these things only recorded video. But what happened was technology advanced, and eventually you were able to record on slightly larger film. Like you've seen a lot of people record on bigger negatives, right? That's 35mm tall. And you were able to put sound in as well when you started recording at 24 frames per second. Anyway, I'm running through all that. I've got old cameras as well. I'm trying to explain why they are the way they are. And so in the old days, well before I was born, folks, people used to use a camera like this, and they would look down, and this was called a double or dual reflex camera. Reflex because the mirror goes, right? Reflex is double, right? There's two of them. This is what the camera takes a picture of. This is what you see in the viewfinder. Okay, that's a double reflex lens. That's important to note because what happened was they figured out how to get rid of that top lens there, or the top little hole there. And this is from 1966, a beautiful old Canon. I got all these for next to nothing for parts on eBay, by the way. But what happened was they created a camera that only had, and there's lenses off, that only has one lens. And that's called a single lens reflex system, SLR. And what happens is the mirror here opens up, it reflexes, so that light can go through the shutter and get recorded on the film right here. I might have voided the warranty on this. I'm not sure. Sorry, that's dad humor. Okay, so that's how it works. Now, DSLR cameras, meaning digital cameras, they look like this. Actually, I don't have one here. This is a mirrorless, but I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so DSLR cameras kind of look like this. They're digital. Right? They're digital, and you don't write onto film. You actually record directly onto through the image center onto memory cards. Now, it's called a digital SLR because there's only one lens, right? Single lens reflex. This is a mirrored camera, and you probably heard a lot about this. And so, if you look in the back of an SLR or a DSLR, you always have a mirror. Okay, and that mirror you'll hear go. It flips up so the picture can be taken. There's something called a mirrorless camera now, and I've got a couple of them here. I have about 10 cameras I'm going to teach you how to use during that course. This here is a Sony a7 III. It's my new best friend. And if you look underneath here, right, and obviously never touch that. See if I can get the sun there. Okay, yeah. So this here is a mirrored camera, or mirrorless camera, because there's no mirror. So this guy here, this SLR and all DSLRs have a mirror. See, the mirror goes up and the picture's taken. This doesn't have a mirror, right? Oh, there we go. Good. All right. Now you see that there? That's an image sensor. And these things are a bit pricey. The prices are coming down, though. The DSLR is a dying breed. Mirrorless cameras where it's at. If you have the financial backing to buy one of these now, please buy one when you can. Especially if you have kids, man. I'm so pissed at myself. When I was younger, I used a crappy camera to take pictures of my kids and videos too. Now I want to show you one more mirrored camera here. Okay, this one here I record a lot of my vlogs on, and inside you can see the image sensor, okay? So which one is bigger? See if you can tell me. I'm trying to get light here to reflect into it. You can't tell. All right. So anyway, it's, let me go here. There you can see. Okay. So the one in this hand is obviously bigger. So the one in this hand here, the Sony, it's a full frame because it's the size of a 35 millimeter slide, okay? So that's a full frame camera. This is not a full frame camera. This is a cropped frame. It's got a cropped image sensor, which people also sometimes call CMOS. So the one, when you're picking a camera, pick the one with the biggest image sensor. Okay, get a full frame one. Don't get a crop frame because the pictures and video won't be as good. They'll still be good, but just not as good as these ones here. So try to buy a full frame sensor if you can. My new best friend is that Sony a7 III. Now, when it comes to vlogging in general, I gotta put these back on. The best vlogging camera is probably this one, because what happens is you can actually, you can flip out the screen, okay, like this, and then turn it around, and you can see what you're vlogging about. See? Okay, like this, which is great. Look at that. That's dope, eh? The problem with this one here is this one here, it's moronic. The mirror pops out like this, see? Or pardon me, the screen pops out like this. You can't really see what you're getting. So anyway, these are my favorite cameras at this point. If you want to vlog, get the M50, the Canon M50. I'm supposed to line up these red dots. Give me a second here. And then if you want great quality videos, if you have the budget, get this Sony a7 III if you can. If you're just starting out and you're not sure what to do, then what you can do is you can actually buy a Canon Rebel, and you can get them at Costco, which is a big retailer here in America. I would start with a Canon Rebel or with the Nikon 3500. Right, they're half decent, but they're a great way to learn about videography and whatnot. And so anyway, thanks for the question, Willem. These are the cameras here on the shelf. I've got a bunch of old ones here. I'm taking apart these cameras as well, just to show exhibits and whatnot and how all this stuff works. Anyway, it's fun. Yes, I am a nerd. That's okay. All right, that guy will go there. Great. Thanks for the question, buddy. And if anybody has follow-up questions on videography stuff or anything, please let me know. Thanks. Ghost to Ghost is saying, go Raptors. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. So the Toronto Raptors, which is my team, they're headed to the NBA Finals against Golden State, which is the team here in San Francisco. So I'm from Toronto, so obviously I'm voting for the Raptors. My kids are kind of neutral, right? They were born here, two of them at least. Andrew was born in New York. So, yeah, anyway, game one is tonight. It's going to be a little contentious here in the Bay Area. But anyway, thank you for that. I'm excited. We all are. I hope that my Toronto Raptors win, because that way in Toronto, we can say our Americans beat your Americans when they beat Golden State. All right. All right. The Will of Dee is saying, I don't know what's going on, but I feel the picture quality is better. And it's moving a little bit. Feels like a professional cameraman shooting right now. Thanks, dude. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So I've experimented so much, as you guys know. And Will, remember week one, how awful it was, the quality. Or not awful, but just, yeah, it was awful. Basically, I was using my MacBook with the lens and the camera. Don't ever do that. Don't use the webcam if you don't have to. What I recommend doing actually is I recommend attaching a DSLR directly to your Mac or your Windows-based computer. And the way to do that is there's a box. Let me see if I can get up and show you. Made by Black Magic. Here it is. Here, yeah, good. All right. So on a Mac, you buy this product here. It's called Mini Studio Recorder. And you hook up FireWire directly to your Mac. And this, an HDMI, goes directly to your camera, any camera for that matter. And if anybody has specific questions on how to do this, I've tested every camera using this. I've made all the mistakes I would make. Let me know. But it looks really, really good when you do webcasts. Imagine doing an interview, a Skype interview, with a camera that looks like this, right? And you can do it. This isn't just my camera up here. I mean, I own it, but it's not just, the quality's not great just because of me. Anybody can do it. With any DSLR camera. If anybody has questions on how to do that, please let me know. But I promise you that if you set up a cool studio like this, or a smaller version of this, and you do a lot of web calls, the quality will be amazing, and you'll impress a lot of people. I gotta sit up, my back's kind of, yeah. So yeah, and the way you do it is you can get just one panel like this. It's $30, and I'm sure you can get them cheaper as well. Put in the background. Put a plant from somewhere in your house in the back as well, and then a shelf. And I got this from Amazon for, I think, $150, the whole shelf. It's an old piping shelf, looks really cool. And I'm going to pick it up and move it later because I'll be done after this call with it, right? So anyway, set something up like this at home, and I promise you that you'll impress the heck out of people when you interview with them or have business meetings. It's not that hard to do either. So anyway, yeah. All right, Wrigley, if you're on the call, let me know if the lighting's okay. I actually turned off one light up here for a little bit of dramatic effect, and I want to see if you guys like it. So anyway. All right. All right, hold on a second. Sorry, guys, All right, next question is, and let me ask you all for advice, actually. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn on another light, or I'll make it a bit brighter. See what you guys think. Hold on. All right, that's obviously too dark. Okay, how's that? So that's that side. This side. Okay, yeah. So my question is, should I turn this one off here or leave that one on? All right, so anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys, on or off. So again, I'll do one more time. Should this one be off or should that one be on? Your call. This is your call, so let me know, please. Thank you. All right, next up, let's see. So the Will of Dee is, and the Will of Dee, you asked about the moving thing. It's a slider. And you can all buy these sliders for $119. And you go to Amazon, and it's called Gear Grip. Just do a search, Gear Grip. You can buy it everywhere in the world. And basically, you can put a DSLR on it. If you have a lighter or mirrorless camera, you can even put the slider on the wall as well. And it comes with a little engine that moves the camera back and forth. And you can take that engine off as well and just have it go straight on the road or turn and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Clearly, I'm nerding out here, but I love my job. All right. Will of Dee is saying, Chris, the market is down a little bit. What do you advise me to do to make money, like small projects? Yeah. So I would always be very, very long-term focused when you buy stocks. And I want you to buy when everyone else is freaking out. Because if you get into the habit of being a long-term investor and buy when everyone else is selling, then being a contrarian will make you a lot of money in the long run. And Warren Buffett always says, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. He also says to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. I believe it. Don't panic. Do your own research yourself, please, always. Now, in terms of how to make other money on the side, like small projects, what I would do is I would teach online. And Will, you mentioned earlier on the call that you have your camera and your lighting set up at home now. And so if you want, and this goes for everybody in the call, and I'm not incentivized by Udemy or compensated by anybody, but I can help you to get a course on Udemy and just give you feedback in front of everybody here. I'll do it just in the call, not offline, please. I've got a crazy schedule. But I think that's the best side hustle you can possibly have, is teaching online, when one teaches to learn. And teaching is the most scalable business model that's ever been created, right? So if your parents probably wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer growing up. Now, teachers are going to make more money then those three aforementioned serve as jobs in the future. Because if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you can only treat one patient at a time. If you teach, you can write once, read many. You can teach the whole world at the same time. It is infinitely scalable, and it's a heck of a lot of fun as well. And you're making the world a better place too, because education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. That's a great quote from Nelson Mandela. All right. Next up is EJ. EJ, how are you? EJ, past couple of calls has been the first one on and the last one off. It's been incredible. Great staying power, EJ. Thank you. Appreciate that. EJ saying, good morning, Chris. I hope everything's going well. Thank you. It is. What do you think about the U.S. credit reporting system? Do you think it's a good system, or is it vastly flawed? Yeah. So there's credit agencies and credit companies that create what's called a FICO score. And FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation, which I think the ticker is FIC in that company. And what they do is if you pay your bills back late, they give you a crappy credit score. And there's a couple different ratings agencies you can use. And it happened to me, actually. I was trying to buy a house years ago, and I paid back. You ever go to a store, like a clothing store, like Nordstrom, which is based in Seattle here in America? I went to Nordstrom, and at checkout, they said, hey, if you get our credit card, we'll give you 10% off. And I was like, okay, yeah, great idea. And I don't do that anymore. But I did it, and I forgot to pay that bill. And I eventually paid it like 1 or 2 months late. And because of that, I could not get a mortgage approved, because the mortgage company called the credit rating company and asked, how's my credit rating? And it wasn't that great because of that one stupid little thing. So all of you, please try your best to always pay your bills on time. One little late bill, can break your heart and hurt your family as well. I ended up going back to Nordstrom. I got down literally on my knees and I begged them to call a credit agency and fix what happened. And they did. They were cool about it. So anyway, that's the credit system. I think it works only okay, but just be careful with paying bills. Pay it back on time if you want. If you meant credit rating agencies, like Moody's or S&P, which rate bonds, they're getting better, but they were one of the reasons why we went into the big crisis in 2008. They didn't downgrade bonds fast enough. Okay, so Will of Dee is saying, can you give me some membership ideas I can create for customers? Yeah, so what you can do, and I'm thinking about this too. So for my MBA degree program, what I'm going to do just for the first class that applies is you're going to get access forever to all of my courses going forward and everything on my website forever. You'll be grandfathered in because you'll be the first class. And if you're curious how to do that, by the way, you can always go to... go here. Hi, McLovin. You can go here to harounventures.com and then click on MBA program. You can learn all about the program here, including important dates and whatnot. And so if you want to apply, please apply by the 31st for early admissions. We've gotten a ton of applications. We're going to be filled up pretty soon. And then the final deadline is, the 15th, you'll find out of November if you're on the wait list, if you got in. But the reason I mention this, and by the way, in order to apply, there's no requirements. But here, go to FAQ, frequently asked questions, and this will tell you exactly how to apply and what to write in your essay as well. And your essay's got 2 questions, right? And you'll write it right here. It's basically... It's 1,000 words or less, and I want you to tell me why you want an MBA, and most importantly, what is your perfect life in 10 years? And I want you to write that down because I want to do whatever I can do to help you achieve all of your goals within 10 years. You are the customer, and the customer is always right. And I'm going to tailor and customize this entire MBA program for you, the student, you, the customer. Imagine that, a teacher treating a student like the customer. The student is paying a teacher. The teacher should treat the student like the customer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to customize the degree program for you, all of you. And I'm also going to teach it live at times that work best for you, even if that means I teach the class multiple times per day, in the middle of the night, whatever it takes. I will do whatever it takes to add as much value as I possibly can. So anyway, check it out if you get a chance. The price is $499, but you can get more than 50% off if you've taken a bunch of my courses on Udemy and sent in the certificate of completion. They're listed here. So you can go here to harounventures.com and read about that. Now, I know that your question was about a subscription business model. What are some membership ideas you can have for customers? Well, in my case, all of the people that are taking my MBA degree in the first class are going to get everything for free forever. They'll be grandfathered in. But what I'm going to do going forward after the first MBA class, when I take the second MBA class next year, what I'm going to do is there's going to be a monthly fee as well. So when you're done with the degree, you can continue to pay $5 or $10 a month to get all of my courses for free forever. It's kind of like Netflix for business, so to speak. So that's what I'll be doing. So and what I recommend doing, Will, is collecting as many email addresses as you can. Okay, and there's got to be a carrot. There's got to be a way for people to want to sign up to your website. Maybe you give away a book or something. Okay, and then what you can do is when you launch your subscription business, which I haven't yet, you can then send that out to everybody. So anyway, those are my thoughts. And you wrote here, I'm planning to start making courses and sell them on my website. Good. Use Teachables for that, or use Udemy. There's more business that way. And then you're going to sell a book as well. Books are tough, man. Books are tough because the loneliest place in the world is page 2 of Google search rankings. And the issue is that, Udemy, what they'll do is they'll market your stuff for your courses. So they are your sales and marketing department. It's amazing. It's amazing. They are the last mile. But if you create the course yourself on your own website, it might be tough to sell initially. So I would do it on Udemy if you can. And when it comes to Amazon called me a couple of years ago. And they said that we're going to launch online classes on our website, and we're going to press release it, and we want to use you as the poster child, along with another Udemy teacher named Phil Ebener. And I was excited. Phil's a great guy. I was excited. And so I said, oh my gosh, yeah, I'd love to help out. And it was the biggest money pit. I put a couple courses on Amazon, and the problem is Amazon doesn't market anything. You know, anybody can put something on Amazon. They never tell you what products to buy ever. So anyway, it hasn't worked out as well. I think Udemy is the way to go. Udemy is an 800-pound gorilla. In the edtech industry, Udemy is Google and everybody else is Bing. All right. All right, Rohit is saying, good morning, Chris. Hope you're doing well. But hi, Rohit. How are you? And thank you, as always, for your YouTube comments and whatnot. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Arthur. Hey, Arthur. First time I've seen you on the call. Welcome. I hope you join us again. Thank you. Arthur is saying, hey, good morning, Chris. I'm 16 years old, and I have an interest in technology and business, but I can't seem to find my passion. How can I find my passion? Wow, 16 years old. Good for you for thinking about it back then. God, 16, it was 1988. It was a year or two after my dad bought me my first, when I was 16, my first Mac computer, and it changed my life. I love technology. It was fun. I didn't know what I wanted to do, though. I love technology, and I love stocks. And so what I did was I set up a ton of informational meetings when I was closer to 20, and I started working in the tech consulting financial services department at Accenture. So what I recommend doing, Arthur, is maybe talk to your parents and ask them if you can meet with their friends that work in different industries, just to kind of get, just get an understanding or an appreciation for what they do. And while you're meeting with them, I want you to figure out if that's fun for you or not. And so for me, my dad actually had me sit down with one of his lawyers because I wanted to go to law school. And he was a nice guy. I remember we went to an Indian restaurant and I had a nice lassi. I'll never forget that in Toronto. It was awesome. But it sounded boring, though. The law industry wasn't right for me. And so I did a lot of interning and meeting with people, whatever, and eventually I figured out my passion. And Arthur, what you can do if you want is, again, through your parents, you can meet with their friends that work in various industries And while you meet with them, just, kind of ask yourself, does this sound interesting? Something I might want to do. What you can also do at such a young age, this is awesome. I'm impressed. Welcome to the course to the call. Thank you. What you can also do is you can intern for free, or just a little bit of money on weekends or during the summer. That's what I recommend. And keep rotating and doing different internships over and over and over again. Rinse, lather, repeat until you find an industry you're passionate about. Another way to find what your passion is, Arthur, is ask yourself this: what would I do for free that I love? Or you can ask yourself this: if I was given 2 weeks off right now and I can't go to school and I can't travel and I can't work, what would I do with my time? Think about that really hard, because that should be your passion and what you ultimately do in life. And, don't listen to anybody else. Don't let somebody try to tell you how to live your life. Otherwise, you'll always be their prisoner. Do what you love doing most, and don't give a damn what anybody thinks of you. And if you ever have questions about specific industries on this call, Arthur, I'm more than happy to answer them. And welcome to the call. And at 16, I'm amazed you're even thinking about that age. That's really, really impressive. It took me until about 40 or so to find my passion, which is teaching. But I also love technology and finance. And so I kind of married all three of them in this online teaching stuff, which I love. Yeah. And by the way, Arthur, you can teach on Udemy. The minimum age is 13. And I know that because my son wanted to teach a course when he was 12 on Twitch, but he was too young. They wouldn't let it happen. He can now. So anyway, do what you're most passionate about and teach about it as well if you can. And then, Arthur, you can always go to udemy.com, search for my name, and there are a couple courses I release every year which teach you how to teach online for free based on my mistakes. So, and if you have follow-up questions on that, as always, please let me know, and welcome to the call. Thank you. All right, next up is Nick. Nick, how are you? That's great. That's a great new panel, and congratulations on winning the Eastern Conference. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So Nick is referring to the Toronto Raptors, my basketball team in Toronto, where I'm from. This is the first time ever they're going to the NBA Finals. And they're playing the local team here, San Francisco. So it's obviously I'm going for the Raptors. I'm going to make a lot of enemies in the next week or two here, but that's okay. That's okay, because I know that Toronto's going to beat Golden State because our Americans will beat your Americans. That's what I'm telling my buddies from San Francisco. Sully, how are you? Welcome to the call, buddy. All right, Hooks Are Us. We have a question. How do you suggest listing your MBA course on a resume, since it's not from a university or a college? How many employers responded to this? Yeah, so I think you're talking about my course called An Entire MBA in One Course, which is an 8-hour course on Udemy. So you can mention if you want. You can mention any of my courses, and you get a certificate of completion from Udemy. So you can always mention certificate of completion. And if you want, you can put a couple of bullet points on what you learned in that course as well. All the business topics, whatever it is. Yeah. All right. Next one is... All right, Anant is saying, "Hi, sir. Good morning. No, please call me Chris. Thank you. I've just enrolled in the Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hope you enjoy it. And I filmed the trailer of that course we rented an office building or a floor in an office building in Prague in the Czech Republic. That was fun. And actually, for my Complete Cryptocurrency course, I went to Prague. And we actually rented a data center. We rented a data center and recorded the Complete Cryptocurrency course in the basement of a data center. And what we did was the film crew, who are great, what they did was they actually went out and bought a treadmill. And we put a treadmill in the basement of the data center with all the cool computers and lights around me. And I ran on the treadmill and I said, there's 2 tracks in this course. There's a beginner track, and I'm kind of jogging. And I say, and there's an advanced track, and I'm kind of running. So anyway, it was a lot of fun recording that. Yeah, it's interesting though, because when we did that, the trailer, I had to sign all these documents, and they're stuff I can't even release, obviously, privacy stuff when we were doing that data center shot. But they warned us as well, which is bizarre. They said that there's a certain chemical that drops from the ceiling within 30 seconds to save the equipment if there's a fire, but that chemical can kill you. So if you hear an alarm, run, which is pretty funny. All right. All right, hold on one second here. Sometimes I get a ton of questions and it jumps. Hold on a second. Fuck you, Wrigley. I saw that. I love you to death, brother, but you're wrong there. Wrigley he works with me. I just saw he wrote that Golden State's going to win tonight and not the Toronto Raptors. Sorry for saying that to you. Peace. This is your half. Just kidding. Love you, man. All right, next up is Pregason is saying, good morning, Chris. Pregason, and if I pronounce anybody's name wrong, please tell me. I've done this a couple times, and what I do is you tell me how to pronounce your name properly, and then I put the badge on my computer. So there's a guy named Anadi. He told me how to pronounce his name right, and I have a couple here as well. Josue from Brazil. So let me know if I'm ever mispronouncing your name, please. Thank you. All right. It looks like you're in South Africa. Okay, so Pregason from South Africa is writing, my wife and I have a keen interest in relocating to Canada. Please advise what's the best way to do so. I'm an IT vendor manager. Okay. So I'm not an immigration lawyer. I've hired a lot of immigration lawyers over the years just to renew my visa over and over and over again here. But the way it usually works is if you go to school in a country that's not your own, or if you work in a country that's not your own, you get visas. And every country is different and the rules change all the time. So when you come to America, for example, you get a TN visa or a school visa, and you have to renew it every 6 months. So that's how you get your foot in the door. You get your foot in the door by maybe coming to school in Canada, for example, which is where you want it to go. Go to university there, or school or community college on the side if you have to work full time, and then get your student visa, and then eventually get what you can do is when you get a job after university, you can usually get a visa, and then you get your citizenship. It's actually not that hard to get citizenship in Canada once you're there. What you can also do is if you have family or relatives there, you can ask them about sponsoring you. But what I would do is just hire an immigration lawyer, okay, that's based in Toronto, for example. And there's a lot of great law firms. One of them in Toronto is called Tory. It's a bit pricey, but you can check that one out. That's where Brian Mulroney works now. He's the former Prime Minister of Canada, one of my favorite people. So there's others too. There's one called Blake's, and yeah, they might be a bit pricey though. So price shop a little bit, yeah. And if you have follow-up questions, let me know. I don't know the best answer though. I mean, my dad came in the 60s. It was a lot easier then to get into Canada than America. He tried to get to America, couldn't get it. And so in 1967, there was two immigrant groups that Canada accepted many of. One was Vietnamese, and the other was Egyptian, which is my dad. So, but talk to a lawyer, please, an immigration lawyer. They'll have better advice than I will. Thank you. All right, Mahadur from Bangladesh. Hello, how are you? All right, so Will is saying, how do I keep control when I invest in projects? How can I be sure of the income I receive? Yeah, so if you invest in any company, you should get an offering memorandum as well as the paperwork you signed. I have an example one here. I'm not going to pull it out. But what you do is in the contract that you sign, okay, make sure that you read it cover to cover and show your lawyer too if you can to ensure that there are no clauses that will make you not get paid. For example, I joined a venture capital firm years ago, and I was a partner, and I hired a lawyer to read the partnership agreement before I signed it. And it cost me a couple grand with that lawyer, which I thought was, oh my God, this is so stupid. Why are you spending all this money? This is crazy. Probably one of the best decisions I ever made in business, because the lawyer found a clause in that contract that said, if there is an exit in one of our portfolio companies, meaning if one of our companies goes public or gets sold, the partners only get paid when the managing partner decides is right. Now, and I'm butchering the language here, but basically the bottom line was that I might not get paid for 20 or 30 years. And so the lawyer changed the language to I would get paid within 6 months of that liquidity event. And I brought it back, and he signed it as well, which was great. I'm really glad I did that. It was a tough conversation to have with him. But I started off with, it's very expensive to live in the Bay Area. I have kids, and I know you didn't write that contract you gave me. I know your lawyer wrote the contract for you, and I know how it works. Lawyers always try to protect, whoever hired them. But I hired just somebody to take a look at it, and I realized there's this one clause, and I have to protect my family, and you know what I'm getting at. And he was totally cool with it. He signed off on that amendment, and thank goodness I did that. Yeah. All right. Next one is, hey, Chris, is there anything you would do different at age 26 looking in retrospect to aim yourself to a successful life in business? I remember I first took your MBA course about 5 years ago. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. What would I do? I'll tell you where I was. This is all, there's no filter here. I was interning at Goldman Sachs at 26. It was 1998. Yeah. And I was so scared. And I remember I was at Goldman, and I thought, I was insecure. I was, when I was younger, when I was in the 6th grade and the 8th grade, the school I went to, they wanted to fail me. They thought I had a learning disability. So I always thought I wasn't good enough. And so that's why I always worked harder than everybody else. So I remember I was at Goldman Sachs. They were very nice to me. And I didn't want to talk because I thought if I say something, they'll know I'm dumb. If I don't say something, they think I might be dumb. And at that point in time, what was going through my head was a great song by Nirvana called Dumb. I'm just putting you there with me in real time. But I wish I could have gone back in time and told myself, Chris, you're just as smart as everybody else. Get some confidence, because, and I'm talking to myself in hindsight, whether or not you think you can do something, you're right. Perception becomes reality. It's always the case. And nobody is smarter than you. And I want you, please, all for homework, to do a search on YouTube for Steve Jobs Smarter Than You. Watch that video. It's about a minute. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. I wish I had gone back and told myself that. But you know what? I don't really have many regrets, because everything I did kind of sent me down a path to teaching, which is what I love doing. I wish I had started teaching earlier in life. But then again, I probably wouldn't have been able to teach you all about finance and business if I hadn't, made mistakes and been successful humbly as well. So I guess I would also say, I would have also told myself this. I'm a religious man. I would have told myself, Chris, don't worry, because God already knows what's going to happen, and that should put you at ease. So don't question your faith. That's what I would have said to myself. So I wouldn't have worried as much. But at that point in time, I had just written a book that was published in 95 by the late, great Andy Grove, the CEO of Intel, called Only the Paranoid Survive. And I thought that it was healthy to be paranoid. It's healthy paranoia, which is an oxymoron. I think it's healthy to be paranoid, but it's also healthy to, to not get stressed out as often. Just relax. Because if you stress out too much, you're going to die young. And what is the purpose of life? Am I working every day so I can be happy in the future? What the fuck is that? Why not be happy right now? Why not live for today? And don't worry about tomorrow. And don't worry about the past, because you can't change the past. Just focus on today, man. Enjoy every day. Every day is a vacation. Every day is a holiday. And the only way to really live your life on your own terms is to start your own company. And that's what I did. And in 2007, I finally got my green card. And so I started a hedge fund and a venture capital firm here in the States. So I don't really have that many regrets. I would just say in hindsight, Chris, don't worry as much. Worrying is the ultimate killer. It ages you, man. It really does. And you can't reverse aging, but you can slow it down a bit. And I have a lot of tips if you care on how to do that. But worrying it kills you, man. It gives you a heart attack. And, I remember this episode of National Geographic on television where there was a lion chasing a gazelle. And they hooked up all these monitors to the gazelle just to monitor its heart, its breathing, etc. And what happens is when a lion is chasing a gazelle, obviously the gazelle runs for its life. And it's terrified. And it pumps a lot of blood to the heart. And what happens at the same time is the immunity system shuts down for the gazelle while it's running. The reproductive system shuts down as well when the gazelle is running for its life. Everything shuts down except for one cardiovascular function, which is pumping blood to the heart and focusing on moving quickly so you don't get killed. Well, I mentioned that because we weren't meant to feel massive amounts of stress in our lives unless we were kind of fending for our life. Life-threatening something is occurring to us. And the problem is that people get so stressed out with work that it ages them and it hurts their personal life. Like I have a lot of friends that have tried to have kids, and having children is not as easy as you think, right? It's it can be really frustrating. We're very blessed. Christina and I have 3 wonderful boys. But whenever you hear of one of your friends getting pregnant, there's probably 1 or 2 other friends of yours that are trying unsuccessfully. And what happens is a lot of times a husband and wife, when they're trying to conceive, it's so stressful. Are you pregnant now? Did it work now? And I remember once actually, Christine did a pregnancy test, and I was like, "Are you pregnant?" No, nothing. You're like, "Oh," and we're both stressed. It was just that one time though, but it happens a lot to a lot of people. And so what happens is people are so stressed out from trying to have a kid that the reproductive system shuts down. And then what happens is they adopt wonderful children. And then after the adoption process is done and they're happy, then they're pregnant because they're not stressed out. They're not stressed out. So in hindsight, I would have told myself, Hakuna Matata, which is don't worry because God already knows what's going to happen. Just enjoy today. You can't control the past. Oh, Will of Dee is saying, drink some water. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Rohit is saying, what should the young and new generation do in order to make the world a better place, according to you? Yeah. So I love, like, the younger generation is my favorite generation ever. I mean, this generation was born digital. They were born into an era of financial irresponsibility. They were born, and grew up and worked and maybe went to school in 2008 when the world was falling apart. And because of that, a great byproduct that occurred is that younger people, they don't want to work for a company for the rest of their lives. They probably want to work for a couple companies at the same time and work for themselves longer term. And they realized how much the older generation, this is controversial, effed up the world in 2008. And then a lot of countries, there was the stimulus program was created, the economic stimulus program, which the younger generation called the Steal From Us program in many countries. And it's really sad because a lot of people that graduate university around 2008 or so, or a little before them, they're unemployed, or they were for years at least. I remember in Spain, for example, youth unemployment was 40% at one point. It was tragic. It was tragic. And because of this, and there's always a silver lining. I'm so naive enough to be positive. But with me, crisis leads to opportunity. And the opportunity is that the younger generation learned that they're not going to spend the rest of their lives being someone else's bitch. They want to live their lives on their own terms. I love the younger generation, and millenniums. I found I've managed a bunch. You always have to provide feedback, and they love to kind of live their lives on their own terms, and that's how I manage my employees. I gave them all laptops, whatever, and they can work from anywhere in the world. I don't care, but I want them to be happy first and productive second. So anyway, I think the younger generation gets it from a digital perspective as well. They were born digital. You know, they're questioning everything. They don't believe in, watching the same horrific news television programs that the older generation watched. Like I remember as a kid, and even now, Sunday nights I'd watch 60 Minutes, right? And I remember being around my parents when they watched it as well, and it was scary. It was fascinating, great reporting, and I'm actually using the same slider right there that Dan Rather uses, right, when he does interviews, whatever. I have 2 sliders here. But when I was a kid, my parents watched the news. It was scary, man, because the news is always negative. And the younger generation doesn't watch the news. They don't watch TV at all. They watch YouTube. And that's a beautiful thing because YouTubers are positive. They're not negative. And so you're more positive on life because of that. Also, you're all getting an MBA right now by watching YouTube videos. You're getting an MBA in digital marketing. You're learning how to market yourself. If you watch Casey Neistat or the crazy Russian hacker who my kids love, who, by the way, lives in North Carolina in the States, but he's from Russia. They market themselves. And my kids learn how to market because of that. My kids inspire me, the younger generation. And they help me. They give me great advice. I'm doing what I'm doing right now because of them. They gave me a lot of advice. So the younger generation they're born digital. It's kind of like the hippie generation in the 60s. They don't trust the generation that, lost a lot of money in 2008 and destroyed the world or almost did. They don't trust it. Just like how in the 60s in Berkeley here, the hippie movement started. And the hippies would say, don't trust anybody over 30. So anyway, I love the younger generation. I think a lot of them are libertarian as well, which I think I might be. Yeah. All right. If I missed anybody, please let me know. Mahudur is saying hello from Bangladesh. Thanks again. Thank you to you too. Actually, Mahudur, I get all my book covers done by this incredible woman in Bangladesh, and I didn't even know she was from Bangladesh till I asked. But all my book covers, what I do is I don't create the cover myself. I outsource it. And I outsource it actually to somebody over Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com. And her name is UltraCon22. And she does my books. I pay her about $20 now, not $5. But you can get anything you want done for about $5. And so she's created all the covers of all my books. And for those of you that are looking for a side hustle or a way to make money on the side, what you can do is you can go to Fiverr.com and you can start, doing stuff on it and charging people. And you'd be amazed what you can make money on, right? So what I just did actually is I went to Fiverr and for my... Oh, fuck it, I'm going to show you. Sorry, I usually don't swear this much. All right, so I got to show you what I did. So everybody needs a side hustle, and Fiverr is a great way to get a side hustle. Hi, McLovin, how are you? So what you can do, Fiverr is this company based in Tel Aviv. I saw their headquarters actually recently when I was there. And what you can do is you can get anything you want done. Anything you want done for $5. Hold on, let me see if I can log in here. My laptop's on the floor because it is noisy. And I want the fan getting to here. So I'll log in here. Continue. But what I'm doing is for my complete video course, I hired this guy here. Okay. Not that guy, but someone who looks like that. Oops, hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. Here, yeah. So I hired this guy here he impersonates Will Ferrell. And what I'm doing is I'm actually using what he does here in my course, the complete video course or whatever we decide to call it. But I'm pretending that he's the camera. And I'm taking pictures, and he's giving me really, he's being a dick to me in a Will Ferrell voice. It's funny, right? So one of them, he goes, "Chris, you idiot, I can't see anything. My eyes are not that great. All I see is white." Yeah, anyway. And then he goes, he sees too much streaking in another video I make because I mess up the shutter speed. And he goes, "We're going streaking," for the movie Old School, obviously. Anyway, it's fun. He makes fun of me. He says Haroun rhymes with baboon. He calls me baboon, Babs. Anyway, I'm having fun with this. So anyway, this guy's creating all this stuff. It should be ready today or tomorrow, whatever. But you do that as a side hustle. You can do anything you want here on Fiverr. If you want to make book covers for people, or if you want to you want to translate stuff. I pay people a lot of money to translate stuff. I actually had somebody do the voice of Doc from Back to the Future in my complete cryptocurrency course. You might remember that part if you guys took that course of mine. Anyway, you can get anything you want done on Fiverr, and anybody that wants a side hustle should start doing stuff on Fiverr. And you could, make PowerPoint presentations for people. There's a market for everything. What a wonderful time to be alive. All right. The Will of Dee is saying, oh, sorry, we got that one already. If I missed anybody's question in between, just paste it again, please. Yeah. So Rohit, the bottom line about the younger generation making the world a better place, I think everybody should teach, because when one teaches, two learn. Everybody should teach. And if everybody teaches, then the cost of education goes down a lot because there's a big supply of teachers online. Right? And so if everybody teaches, the pricing point of education goes down materially, and everybody wins, because as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. Yeah. All right. Next up. All right. I cut a hole here in my house. That's how we say it in Canada. I cut a hole so that I knocked out the bathroom wall, another wall into the attic there, and I expanded my studio a lot just myself. I researched on YouTube and have power drills and stuff. And the good thing about it is that it's actually not hot in here anymore, because I get the draft from the basement coming in here, which is kind of nice. All right, next up is, Chris, did you hear about the SpaceX project? Elon Musk, right? Yeah. They just launched 60 of 12,000 satellites to provide high-speed internet worldwide, like up to 1 terabyte. That's amazing speed. It's incredible. I love it. And actually, my TEDx talk, and you can go to my YouTube page to watch my TEDx speech. I talk about Elon Musk, and I talk about Sir Richard Branson and Mark Zuckerberg. And I say that these are our space pioneers. And with great power comes great responsibility. And I believe that everybody should get access to unfiltered internet access globally through low orbiting satellites, which hopefully Elon Musk does, and Mark Zuckerberg as well, and of course Jeff Bezos. And I think what happens is, if everybody's got access to unfiltered internet globally, and it's cheap, then no child is going to be left behind from an education perspective, and everybody wins. The problem is, when we build up walls, the world becomes a worse place. Example, the Berlin airlift. When the Berlin Wall was put up in the 1960s or so, what happened was the Allied nations, they flew 200,000 flights in 1 year over Berlin, and they dropped basic necessities, food and water. And I think another basic necessity and human right, fundamental human right, is the right to education, unfiltered education through online. And education is a right. Everybody should get it. So I love what Elon Musk is doing. God bless him. But hopefully he actually lets people get internet access for next to nothing in countries where there's access is repressed. And I went to Dubai to meet with a bunch of investors. Finally, my Arabic last name is helping me with something. And I loved it, but I noticed a lot of websites were blocked there as well. Yes, those websites, right? I was just curious. And so it says that the Great Wall, or the Wall of United Arab Emirates, blocks this site. And not just those websites. There's other ones too. All right. So Anant is saying, should you be a day trader or a long-term investor? So without a doubt, Anant, you got to be a long-term investor. And just case in point, there's a lot of very successful long-term investors. We know their names: Warren Buffett, George Soros, a ton of them, whatever. Do we know the names of any successful traders that have made money every year? No, because they don't exist. What happens is, if you trade and try to make money in the short term, you will get fooled by randomness. You might be right the first time or second time, whatever. But if you keep going back to the casino, you're going to lose your shirt. because each month has 20 trading days in it, and so much random stuff can happen in those 20 trading days, right? There's 20 weekdays in every month, and you get fooled by randomness, and you're often right for the wrong reasons or vice versa. A lot of times the reason a stock goes up in the near term is because all stocks in that sector went up, or the economy or the market was doing really well. You got to be long-term focused. Never, ever, ever be a trader. Otherwise, I promise you, it's going to end very badly for you. I promise you. I want you to be a long-term investor. And the best way to think about it is, we'll take my complete financial analyst course, because I teach you how to research companies for the long run and how to make money as well, based on stocks you will pick, not me. But if you think 5 years out with every stock you're about to invest in, and you ask yourself a question, in 5 years, is this company going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? Ask yourself that question. And that will make you more long-term focused, and you won't be a tourist in a stock. You won't just rent stocks and sell them when they go down. Imagine that, selling something you used to like because it's cheaper now. So just be long-term focused. Take my course. It'll teach you how to be long-term focused. I cover trading as well in that course. But the only time I think you should look at trading is when you're looking just to get into a position, or if a stock has gone up way too much and you want to book a little bit of profit. But I want you to be long-term focused and long-term greedy. All right. So Daniel 777 from Canada. How are you, bud? It's from Alberta, actually. He's saying, the most exciting day for me, guess what? It is Thursdays. I have the opportunity to listen to you and learn lots. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, buddy. God bless you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And I know times are tough up there in Alberta. And there's a company actually that was going to bring me to give a keynote speech to 5,000 people in the convention center in Calgary. And it's actually an event that is somewhat sponsored by the provincial government to help people in Alberta retool, because I know what's happened there has been really tragic. So for those of you that don't know much about Canada and Alberta, Alberta is the province in Canada that has the most oil. And the province did exceptionally well for years and years and years. They had this Alberta Heritage Fund, which used to be a big client of mine, actually, when I worked at Goldman, and taxes were low. And the reason Alberta did well is because the price of oil kept going up a lot. It was $150 a barrel in 2008. And what happened was Alberta, they spent a lot of money mining what's called heavy oil, which means tar sands, right? It's a thick oil, kind of like what they have in Venezuela. Venezuela's got the most oil in the world, but it's all tar sands, which means it's very expensive to get that oil out. And so if the price of oil is over $80, then Alberta and Venezuela do well. Otherwise, they don't. And we know what's happening in Venezuela now. It's kind of tragic. And so in Alberta, what happened was they kind of overbuilt, and everybody is tied to the oil industry, and oil crashed in Canada, and a lot of people are unhappy. And I think what people should do there, and this was going to be the crux of the speech, it was canceled for budgetary reasons. Too bad. But what I was going to advise people do in Alberta and everywhere is, if your industry is going down the toilet, so to speak, retool, man. Go online to places like udemy.com or wherever it might be online and learn new skills. Anybody can code. Anybody. Take courses on Udemy from teachers like Angela Yu or Rob Percival. Retool. Teach yourself. Self-education. It's self-help. It's great. Teach yourself and retool at nights if you can. So. Anyway, thanks a lot for that, Daniels. As always, it's great to see you. I lost my spot, so I'm going to search on Control F. Daniels, I found you. There you are. Good. All right. So Will of Dee. Oh, when you guys talk to each other, I don't read it. I love it though. Please keep talking to each other. I love a sense of community. It makes it more fun. But I actually don't read what you type to each other when you have the @ sign. Okay, Anant, you're most welcome. All right, Deaf Guy 319 is saying, "Hi Chris. So my crazy idea on investing $1 million into AT&T to live off of 60 grand a year. Could you help me see why the dividend is so high and what your approach to evaluate AT&T would be?" Yeah. So in the past, I've said that if dividends are too high, they're too high for a reason. And so sometimes you'll see companies have dividend yields of 15 or 20%. Like there's a company called Annaly, which I invested in years ago that had a high yield. A lot of times when the yield is high, it's too good to be true. And you have to do your research because there might be something problematic with the company. Like investors might think there could be cash flow issues and that dividend is not sustainable. Yeah. So when it comes to AT&T, ticker T, I haven't done work on this one in a while, but I used to actually own a lot of it. Let's go here together. So what I usually do is we go to finance.yahoo.com. Oops. Finance.yahoo.com, and then ticker T is AT&T, right? I haven't looked at this one in a while, but I know that the yield is usually nicely high. That's a fantastic yield, dude. Look at that. That's great. So you'd have to do research on this and decide for yourself if you think AT&T is going to go bankrupt or not. I don't think it's going to happen, man. I don't think so. This company is becoming less and less relevant over time because, AT&T was basically the long distance arm of Bell. And Bell was this massive telephone conglomerate in America that was so powerful, it was a monopoly. And the government forced Bell to break up into different pieces. And that's why a lot of phone companies in America have the word Bell in it. Even in Canada, we got Bell Canada, right? So, and then what they did was they spun off the R&D or research and development arm of Bell, which used to be called Bell Labs. They spun it off into a company called Lucent, ticker LU, which is publicly traded. AT&T was the long distance arm to it, and they have cell phone access stuff as well. I'm actually going to do research on this, and I might buy it. I didn't realize the yield was that high. That's fantastic. Yeah. If you're going to invest, if you have a retirement savings program, this is one where you kind of throw into your retirement savings program, and yeah, it's fantastic, man. Thanks for uncovering that. I didn't realize that the yield was where it is right now. But again, do more research and figure out why the yield is that high. That sounds awesome. Sounds great. Make sure you're happy with the cash flow that you see on the income statement, or I should say the cash flow statement. Make sure that there's not too much debt on the balance sheet. And listen to the most recent earnings call as well. Do a search for AT&T Investor Relations. And you can listen to that call. So every company has an investor relations website, every big company. So if we go AT&T Investor Relations, here it is here. So I want you to go here to investors.att.com, okay? And you can read a ton of stuff. There's a wealth of information. It's fascinating stuff too. It's fun to read on the company, right? And you can actually watch replays of previous webcast meetings they've had, because what happened was in 2002, there's a guy named Elliot Spitzer in New York City. He's a government official. And what he did was he created something called Regulation FD. FD stands for Fair Disclosure, which means that every company in America that's on the stock market, they have to release information to you and I, right, the individual retail investors, at the same time as the big mutual funds and hedge funds get it. That levels the playing field. It's a beautiful thing. And so you have the same access, all of you do, that every hedge fund and mutual fund has access to information-wise. And so anyway, just go to this website here. I want you to watch the presentations. I want you to read everything. I want you to go through the quarterly results. I want you to look into their acquisition strategy as well. They just announced an acquisition not that long ago here. And then while you're thinking about their acquisition strategy, I want you to think about, will the dividend yield be cut because they're going to continue to acquire? And they might signal if they're going to keep making acquisitions or not through their SEC filings, okay, which is basically they have to file certain reports so that you can get access to them at sec.gov. Those reports are 8K, which are press releases. There's 10Qs, which is quarterly reports, and then there's 10K, which is the annual report. So go through all this information here and decide for yourself, based on your research, if you think that dividend yield is sustainable. If you think it is, then by all means, buy and hold. All right. Oops. I don't know why that goes up sometimes. All right, good. All right. Will of Dee is making fun of me, saying, Chris, seriously at home? Wear some comfortable shoes, man. Dude, but my shoes are comfy, man. I love my shoes. I gotta show you my shoes now. Let's switch over here, see if I can do this too wide. There we go. So I was riding my QB down here. which here is my bicycle in my comfy shoes. And this is how I get my steps in. I found that my Fitbit doesn't track as well on my watch. So I actually wear it now here on my leg. See it right there. Yeah. That's how I get my steps in. I bought these in Italy. I went to Positano, Amalfi Coast, and Rome last summer with my family, and I got these. Italian shoes are awesome, man, and they're cheap too, really cheap. Anyway, I got these there. It's kind of fun. These are cozy, man. These are like slippers. Yeah. Now I've got that movie in my head, Life is Beautiful, with Roberto Benigni. You got to watch his Academy Award speech too, and watch that movie if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic, fantastic. Nice soundtrack too. I love it. Yeah. All right, let's see next. Thank you. Thanks, Will. Appreciate that. Excellent. Craig Scott is saying, "Afternoon, Chris." Hey, Craig, how are you? I love having Craig on this call because Craig always says the most intellectual things. Really interesting. He taught me a couple weeks ago that the reason in England why this is the F word, in America it's something else, but is because they were at war, the British with the French, and this is kind of like a bow and arrow kind of FU sort of thing. So thank you. All right, Anadi is saying, can learning data analytics along with finance knowledge help to get into investment management? So I don't think you have to be too technical to get a job in research, but you have to know how to use certain tools. But what I would do is, for example, and I met with a CEO of a company called Tableau, ticker DATA, coolest ticker ever. And the guy's name was Christian Chabot. I met him when his company was private. Eventually invested. Morgan Stanley investment banker set up the meeting. Thank you, Morgan Stanley, for me. And Christian, who is just this incredible person. I don't own the stock anymore. He's so passionate about what he does. But he got me so excited about Tableau software when I met him. And he showed me a demo in real time. And he downloaded Tableau from his website, a trial version at the time. This is 2012. And what he did was he then downloaded 90 million lines of data from American Airlines. And he was able to use Tableau software and those 90 million lines of American Airlines data and slice and dice the data on an old Dell laptop. He got an old one on purpose. And in real time, he created all these beautiful charts and did data analysis. So I want you to check out Tableau, tableau.com. I want you to play around with their data analytics tools and use that to help you to find patterns in data. And when you go to your interview with an investment management firm, I want you to bring your laptop and show them that you're using Tableau. And as part of your research on a company, here's what you found. That might help you. Okay. You can also use a company's software from a company called Quid, Quid.com. And I used to be an investor in that company. I'm not anymore. I sold it. But Quid is actually one floor below Udemy in their headquarters in San Francisco. And their software is great. It's web-based, and all the big consulting firms like McKinsey, et cetera, use it. And you can get a free trial as well. And you can use their cloud-based platform to slice and dice web data. It's really fun to use. And you can come up with really cool patterns, which I think would help you out tremendously. And anybody on this call, actually, when it comes to analyzing big sets of data. And that can only help you when you go into an interview. Because most people that go into interviews in investment management don't bring a laptop. And they don't show their data analysis skills in real time. And that will set you aside. And it'll be a very memorable meeting for the person interviewing you. All right. I love you, Wrigley, but I disagree, brother. Wrigley is a big San Francisco Warriors fan. I'm a Toronto Raptors fan. Wrigley, and they're playing tonight, Game 1 in the NBA Finals. Wrigley, like I said before, our Americans are going to beat your Americans, okay? All right, next up, we've got Anant is saying, for long-term investment, on which basis should we exit or book profits? On fundamentals, is it consecutive quarter losses or simply news basis? Yeah. So I think about it a little bit differently. So not what I want you to do is take my complete financial analysis training and investing course. And what I want you to do actually is I want you to do research on companies based on the stuff that I teach you. And I want you to write, in the course, I teach you how to write a one-page template. And that one-pager discusses in this order of importance: fundamentals, valuation, and then technicals. And that's really important to have that one-pager and write it up before you start investing in a company. It's important because what happens is it gives you more confidence not to sell that stock if the stock goes down. And so what you do is, if your stock starts getting murdered, it's going down a lot, I want you to pull up that one-pager you wrote. And I want you to ask yourself, if I had known about all this stuff, all these negative headlines, when I wrote this report 2 years ago, for example, would I still have bought the stock or not? So if the answer is I would not have bought the stock, then sell the stock. But this way, by doing the one-pager, it teaches you to be very unemotional about business and about finance and investing as well, because most people sell stuff at the wrong time. All right. And Rohit's asking, did you change your office, Chris? Is there a green screen or is that a real wall in the back? That's what I want to hear, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, what I did actually was I changed it around. Actually, I'll give you guys a tour now. So what I did was I'm making a course, 2 courses right now, the complete video course and the complete YouTube course, hence the shirt. And by the way, when I got this shirt made up by a company, they wouldn't make it. And I said, why? They said, because you use the word YouTube and that's copyright. I'm like, dude, seriously? And the only way they would do it is if they said, we have to put your logo on it as well. So I had them just throw that up on the back. I got to watch my posture here. So anyway, here, I'll give you a quick little tour. I'll bring the bike even with me as well here. So what I did was I actually broke down a wall. Might be tough to see there. I broke a wall down. And so that's how I extended this over. And I just put up these curtains to block what's there, just to make it look nicer, whatever. They're kind of fake curtains, right? So I love Amazon. And then what I did was I actually, I bought these massive planks, which anybody can get from Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store. And they're basically just cardboard. That's all they are. And what I did was I actually I measured them and then I dropped them in. And yeah, and it's just cardboard, man. That's all it is. It's cheap cardboard. And you can't even tell. It looks kind of 3D-ish as well. It's pretty nice, huh? So anyway, I put that there. And then what I also did was check this over here. What I also did was I put in the floor here as well, which is cardboard stuff as well. These floor things are 12 feet by 4 feet, and they're $9 each. It's a pretty good deal. And I got a plant, whatever. And then up top, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a couple things. I've got 3 paper rolls. And so paper roll at the front is the... at the front, this is my green screen, so I can pull this paper down if I wanted to. Okay, and I keep it at the front on purpose. I'll tell you why in a second. This is white, which just came, and each one of these weighs at least 80 pounds. It was crazy, and I reinforced the crap out of it with I have a stud machine to find studs in the wall. And then this is black here. And they're in this order on purpose because what I can do is I can drop black immediately down behind here. Okay, and I can drop white in front of this, and then green in front of this. And so I have it staggered like this. And I've got one more roll of paper coming, which is a silver roll, or I should say matte gray. And the beautiful thing about this is that what I can do is I can change sets immediately and actually have a foot in between sets if I want furniture in between for when we go live with the MBA degree program, right? So anyway, it's kind of fun, kind of nerding out here. But you'll find that when you create your own studio at home, every inch counts, every little inch counts. All right, out of the way. Whoops, there we go. All right. All right. So yeah, I agree, Will, with your comments. Thank you. I've got a question from Rohit. Rohit is saying, "Have I ever had a psychedelic experience?" Oof. I never lie, dude. I never ever lie. Oh, ever. I have. I have. Yeah. I remember once and I never lie. Like my parents, I remember I came back from a party. I was a teenager, and I was there with my buddies. And I never lie ever. And they said, "How was the party, honey?" I said, "It was great. I tried some marijuana. It was awesome." Right? And my friends were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And my parents were like, "Oh, Chris, go to bed." I didn't lie. I told the truth. And I did the same thing. I worked at Kingdon, a big hedge fund in New York City. And a bigger hedge fund called Citadel was aggressively trying to recruit me. And I left early one day, and the trader's like, "Where are you going? Where are you going, Haroun?" And I said, "Oh, I have an interview with Citadel." And they went, "Oh." 2 weeks later, I quit. They're like, "Dude." I was like, "Dude, I didn't lie. I was honest." So am I trying to avoid the question here or not? But let me actually do something a little different here. And I don't think marijuana should be legal. It's just my humble opinion, unless it's for medicinal purposes. But all this stuff around me, right? Like the mouse, all this computer stuff was created by people that were experimenting for a psychedelic experience. Because if you think it's true, it's true. I actually studied this at Stanford. I took a course there on innovation in Silicon Valley, why it is the way it is. And so if you think about how crazy that is, imagine you and I go way back in time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking of creating this computer, and I don't know. You know how like a mouse works, like a real mouse? Well, instead of having a tail, well, no, maybe the tail is the thing that attaches to the computer. I'm going to put my hand on a mouse and kind of move it around, and yeah. So, and a lot of times, like with music, some music is so beautiful, rock and roll music, because of different things, which can kind of expand your horizons. I don't agree with it, but it is the way it is. And case in point is, if you look at from a creativity perspective, look at the Beatles. Their early stuff was all in mono in the early 60s. You know, all the fun, harmless stuff like love, love me do, please, please me, whatever, help, I need somebody help. And then later on when they did Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, and there's a number of songs in there that were influenced by something else materially. And it worked. It worked because they were innovative and created something that had never been done before, and they expanded their horizons. I think a way to get a psychedelic experience yourself and to be really innovative yourself is not do drugs, obviously, but don't listen to anybody. That's how you get a psychedelic experience. Don't listen to anybody. You know, when I'm making this course on photography and YouTube, I'm not researching anybody else's courses on those topics. You know, don't read any editorials ever for the rest of your life on stocks, because that will tell you how to think. Do it yourself. That's your own psychedelic experiments. You know, be unique by being you, and not, letting somebody else tell you what to think. Otherwise, you'll always be, their prisoner in your mind. So anyway, those are, I danced very delicately around that. Very, very delicately. But I do remember one experience I had. I was by Lake Ontario with my buddy Hans. And for hours, all we talked about at night, in the middle of the night, was these geese that were flying in a V. We were like, how do they know? It was the most interesting thing ever. I wish I had recorded that. All right, I'm going to stop now. I'm going to stop right now. Yeah. All right. Rudy is saying, what's up, Chris? Good morning. Right back at you. Good morning to you, buddy. All right. And the Will of Dee says, I want to be in your course. I will take this part. How to protect your YouTube Google account. Thank you. And I appreciate that. Thank you. There's a lot of hacking going on. All right, and so John Clee, who asked me who my favorite comedians are, Canadian and otherwise, and I remember that because when I saw your name, you asked that question a couple of weeks ago. It reminded me of John Cleese. That's word association, how I try to remember people's names. So John Clee, John is asking, can you short a stock if it goes through a 2-for-1 split? Yes, absolutely. So all a 2-for-1 split is with a stock is more value is not created. It's just cut in half, right? So if I say here's a dollar bill, and I cut it in half, there's two pieces of a dollar bill. It's still worth $1, right? So a lot of people think that stock split means the stock gets cheaper, therefore it's better bargain. It's not. It's the exact same thing. They just diluted it. They just created more shares, twice as many shares by cutting the stock of the price in half. And the reason they do it sometimes is because a lot of times people just want to buy one share in a company. And so, Google, I think for a while was over $1,000 a share, or it was really, really high. And they split it, I don't know, like 10-for-1, whatever it is, because a lot of people just want to buy one share. So yeah. You can still short a stock after it gets split. Absolutely. You can always bet that a stock's going to go down. Absolutely. And that shouldn't change anything. And sometimes the stock actually goes up a little bit right before a stock split, or a little bit afterwards even, because people think, hey, this other investor is going to buy more of it now because it's cheaper. Or they think, a lot of retail investors want to buy just a single share, but this $1,000 stock is too expensive. So, a stock split's coming up? Okay, let me buy more. Right. So anyway, they announce it to the world. Sometimes they don't. Like a lot of times what will happen is it'll be announced in their quarterly press release, the 8K, which comes out after 4 p.m. New York time when the company reports earnings, which is most of the time they report after the market closes, sometimes before the market as well. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got here. So the Will of Dee is saying, I want to free up space. What items should I sell? Which items should I just give away or throw into the trash? Yeah. So if you have anything in your life that is, or anything in your house that is technology related, don't throw it out, please. Because people buy these things, even if it's for parts. Let me move back here so you can get the same focus level here, same f-stop, or same level aperture here. So this is an old camera. Somebody probably wanted to throw it out. This is an old camera. These are all broken, by the way. So I search eBay for, camera parts or for parts, whatever it is. All this stuff is old and someone would buy it. I mean, you might have like an old crappy lens sitting around that doesn't work. People buy it for props. So sell everything, especially technology related stuff. And if you go to eBay, this will freaking blow your mind, right? I promise you, you're all worth $1,000 more than you think. And you can get that $1,000 right away. And I'm going to show you how to get it. Okay. So if we go to eBay here, what you do is whatever product you have that you want to sell. Yeah. So any product you want to sell, I want you to search for it here first. Okay. Oops. This is going to freak you out. Say you have an old iPod. Okay. Watch this. Search for it. And what you do is scroll down and just look at ones that have already been sold. So you see down here, sold items. And green means it's been sold. So just for fun, I'm gonna sort by price, which ones he sold at. I don't know why, but this sold. Okay. I don't know why, but these sell for what you think they sell. Look at this. Somebody put them all together. I have no idea. Look at this. People they love collectible stuff, even if it's not sealed. It's crazy. It's nutty. If you have an old toy in your house that's still wrapped, it's worth a fortune. Isn't that crazy? Look at this stuff. Look at that. And this is way more than it cost. People collect these things. It's unbelievable. Look at this. It's amazing. So, and even old computers and other stuff as well. Like whatever you have sitting around your house, I promise you that it's worth a lot more than you think, especially if it's technology stuff. And what some people do actually is they I have a Bose music system in one of my rooms here, and what I did was I had an older Bose, and they let me trade it in to get a discount. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome, thank you. Why is that? Are you just trying to drum up business? And they're like, well, that's part of it, but what's happened is the price of all the copper components and other components, gold, etc., silver, in that thing have gone up a lot in value. And so they melt it down. It's kind of like how people, and this is crazy, but people steal air conditioners and they steal manhole covers, construction hole covers, because they can melt it down. It's worth whatever. Or if you melt down 5-cent nickels, which is against the law, by the way, but if you do that, it's worth more than 5 cents. So a lot of stuff you own is worth a fortune because of rare commodity items in them, and collector's items too. The only thing you can't sell on eBay, or one of the only things, food you can't sell, it just doesn't work. And then clothes you can't sell. Like if I tried to sell old clothes, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. But other stuff, you all have $1,000 sitting around your attic that you can easily sell. And there's this woman, a Japanese woman, Kondo, I think is her last name, and she teaches how to set up your house a nice way. I can't remember her name. We were in an article together recently. We were both quoted, but anyway, yeah. I got to find out. Hold on, because this will benefit everybody, and me too. So let's go here to cleaning house Kondo. I can't remember her name. Mary. Oh, here it is. Here, yeah, Mary Kondo. Okay, so she's got her own methodologies on how to live from a minimalistic perspective, how to get rid of stuff as well. And she's actually really entertaining. She has her own, I think she's on Netflix. She has her own show there as well. So check that out. Learn from an expert, not from me, when it comes to cleaning house. That's how we say it in Canada. We clean house. All right. Next up is Rudy is saying, heads up, I made the leap to go out my own. We were supposed to start June 1st. Woo! Was this the insurance company or something? I can't remember. Rudy is saying, so I submitted my 2-week notice almost 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, they let me go right after. Keep us in prayer. The state approves our licensing. I will, buddy. Good for you. Good for you. And don't worry if they walk you to the door. I think you worked in insurance, but I can't remember what it was. If you work in financial services, they always walk you to the door. And it's not because they're upset, whatever, with you, but it's just a competitive thing. It's just what they do, right? So please don't ever take it the wrong way. But I'm proud of you, Rudy, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. You wrote here, you've been a huge inspiration on motivation to make this leap. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm so happy for you. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help everybody live their life in their own terms by starting their own company. And if anybody wants to start your own company, take my complete business plan course, because it'll help you be able to launch your company, or it might actually help you understand why your business model is not good, right? And failing to plan is basically planning to fail. So good for you, Rudy. I'm very happy for you. If you want, share with me more information on your business model. And as we go through this fun journey together over the next couple decades on this weekly call, then I want you to ask me questions. I want to be there with you. I want to help you if I humbly can in any way. And if I can't, then, God bless you and congratulations. I'm very, very happy for you, man. You just made my day. Thank you. All right. Next up, we've got Heathen Nations Music, HNM. When I was a kid in Toronto, we had this record store called HMV. We used to go to a store and buy records. And HMV was a British company, actually, which stood for His Majesty's Voice. Yeah. I miss Sam the Record Man. Anybody from Toronto, you'll get that reference. All right, so what's going on, Sir Haroun? Not much, man. Not much. Just having fun. Heathen Nations Music. I'm going to call you H&M, okay, from now on. H&M, yo. Life is good. Life is good. This is fun for me. I don't have a job. I have a passion. All right, Maz is saying, hi, Chris. I'm in a dilemma doing business or becoming a lawyer. I recently found out that you don't have to go to law school to become a lawyer. As they say, do it like Lincoln. A few states in the United States, you can be a lawyer through apprenticeships with experienced lawyers for 4 years. What's your view on this idea? So first of all, I don't know the law, okay, when it comes to that. I always thought you had to have a law degree. But I would say, and I'm going to answer a different way. Make sure you enjoy the work. Make sure you, and this goes for everybody on the call, don't think about what do I want to do with my career. Ask yourself, why? Always ask yourself, why? Make sure it's fun because, dude, you're going to spend more time with your colleagues than probably your children, your spouse, etc., your friends. And make sure you love the people if you consider that. But more importantly, you love the industry, because your goal, just like Rudy here, is to start your own company one day. And I'm here to help you do it if I humbly can in any way possible. Make sure you enjoy it. Make sure you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy law, don't do it. You have to love it. And for anybody that wants to be a doctor or any other profession, never do something just to make people proud of you. And never do something for the love of money. Because if you live your life for somebody else, then you'll always be their prisoner. You'll never be happy, and you'll be very insecure. The only person you should try to make happy is, well, your family first, then you. So make sure you love doing what you're doing, and don't give a damn what anybody thinks of you. That's the only way you can really realize true happiness in your heart, is not giving a damn what anybody thinks of you. And you live your life on your own terms, and every day should be like a vacation, meaning do what you love doing. And that's why I always ask my students, they say, I'm trying to find my passion, help me. And I say, sure. Pretend that you have a 2-week vacation right now. You cannot travel, you cannot work, you cannot go to school. What are you going to do? That should be your career. All right. So the Will of Dee is saying, I have too many ideas. What should I do? Which should I stick with? Which should I abandon? Yeah. So I would write business plans. Take my plan course. Write business plans for all your ideas. Okay. And then decide, based on your business plan write-ups, which business has the best prospects based on your research. Based on your research. That's what I would do. But that's great, though. That question means that you are, Will, a true entrepreneur at heart, because you just keep thinking of different ideas. It's so funny because I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I love it. And most people that are successful in business have started so many companies, and they failed a lot. We just don't hear about it, but they're always flooded with many ideas as well. Always. That's great. All right. Next up is, I have a weird question. If a person from the 1800s time traveled to 2019, do you think their chance of success would be better, worse, or the same in comparison to modern people? Wow, what a great question. I've never thought about that one. Well, I remember and this is a little touchy, but my grandfather, God bless him, he's Lebanese. His last name was Haddad. And he came to Canada, and he worked at General Electric for years. He was in Vancouver and then Toronto, which is why I was born in Toronto. My mom, yeah. But he came over came to my bedroom one day, and on the wall he saw my fraternity collage, right? And so what happens in fraternities at universities, and I was the president, I was whatever. Bad hair day. It looks ridiculous. I'll show you guys one day. But you have pictures of everybody in the fraternity and what their position was. Secretary, whatever, treasurer, whatever it might be, president. And he looked at it and he said, my goodness. And I said, what? He said, back in my day, most of these people wouldn't have gotten into a fraternity or been accepted anywhere in society. And I say, well, why would you say that? He said, because they all have different ethnic last names. And so my grandfather had to, he changed his last name from Haddad, which is a very popular Lebanese name. It's like Smith. He changed it, I think in the 1930s or whatever it was. He changed it to Smith. Or not Smith, sorry. He changed it to Haddon. Michael Haddon instead of Michael Haddad. I think that people that came from the 1800s to today would be pleasantly surprised with how open everybody is now. Everybody's accepted, and how there's really no limit in many countries on what you can achieve, based on your race, sexual preference, religion, whatever it is. I think they'd be pleasantly surprised with that. I think that they would probably need to get a leg up, or at least study how technology works. But they probably have a good sense on how interpersonal relationships work, because they were not born digital. And they probably understand that relationships are more important than product knowledge, but they probably have to research technology just to get up to speed. And there's a lot of funny movies about that as well. So, great question though, man. Makes me think. And that's why actually I put myself back in the, decades ago when I'm making that complete videography course. I thought how people thought back then, and just understanding this is a dual reflex camera. Remember the old ones you had to look down, and it's dual because when you look down through it, you see through here, and this is what the camera takes a picture of. Why was it called dual? Because of that. Okay, well, why are these things called SLRs, or single reflex lens? Because there's only one lens. That sort of thing. And why are cameras called mirrorless now? Because they don't have this mirror. And so I love to analyze the way things used to be and why they are the way they are. Because if you do that, it's interesting, obviously, but also, and I know Craig Scott on this call is thinking the same thing. He loves historic stuff just like me. It'll help you understand why the world is the way it is today. Always. And it'll help you understand stuff instead of memorizing stuff. Like my son, he said, "Dad, why is your computer, why do they call that a desktop? That's not the top of my desk. That's a computer." And I said, "Oh, well, when they first made Windows-based applications, or Bell Labs, whatever it was, created this, or Xerox, I should say, they thought, how can we make this easier for people to understand? I got it. Let's pretend we have the top of your desk. We'll call it desktop. And over here is an inbox. And that's where people put, inter-office memos and stuff. That'll be an inbox. And over here will be the trash. And that's what Apple called it. And Microsoft said, no, we'll call it a recycle bin. Right? Which is true. So and in a database, why is there a filing cabinet in this database application? Oh, because people used to file stuff in folders. Oh, that's why there's folders in my Finder or Windows Explorer. So if you understand why things are the way they are, you'll find that you don't have to memorize anything, especially when it comes to photography and stuff. And I'm curious about everything. A little side note, I Wikipedia everything. So this is obviously a Swiss Army knife, and I love it. It's great. And I researched, why the hell is it called a Swiss Army knife? What is that? I mean, what happened? And so American soldiers in World War II, they loved this thing. They saw the Swiss had it, right? And the Swiss obviously didn't have soldiers fighting, but they saw the Swiss had these things. And they asked the Swiss, oh, what's that called? That looks awesome. I want to get me one. And what the Swiss told them the name of the company, which was a very long German name, even though it's Swiss. And so the American soldiers said, I ain't going to call that. I'm just going to call it that Swiss Army knife thing. That's how they brand it. But anyway, it's kind of fun. A little off topic there. But I always understand why things are the way they are. And it'll kind of help you from a user design perspective as well. Last thing I'll say about that is this. You ever get into a car and you wonder, why are things called what they're called? Why is it called a glove compartment? It's called a glove compartment because when people used to drive, they used to wear gloves. And they take their gloves and put in the glove compartment when they're done. Why is it called a trunk? Because people used to get a real trunk, those big, rectangular trunk things, and put it in the back. Right. So, but one thing I'm confused with is I don't understand why it says the door is ajar, because I always thought it was a door. Sorry, dad humor. No more dad humor, I promise. All right. So Rohit is saying, do you have any tips for story writing? Yeah, I mean, I wrote a book called Am I Alive and What the Heck Happened to Me? And I turned into a free course on Udemy. Which you guys should take if you want. I'll tell you how I wrote it. And I didn't do it for money. I don't care. It's free forever, right? But what I did was I wrote it here, and it's called, here it is, A Story Course About Finding Your Passion and Purpose in Life. And the reason why I wrote it, by the way, is because I have a strict rule. I'm not allowed to work on Sundays because I want to spend time with family. And we were in Mexico, January of 2019. And I was like, okay, no, January 2018, actually. I'm like, I can't work. The kids want to go on the lazy river thing. And Christine is doing whatever it is she's doing. So I said, screw it, I'm going to write a book. So it was fun. But it's got to be fun, and you got to write from your heart. So I wrote this book, and I actually wrote it for my kids. So take this course if you want. It's fun. It's fun. I published a book. I don't care if it never makes money. But I actually wrote the entire book over several sessions on the elliptical trainer when I was in Mexico at the hotel or whatever. And so I mentioned that because ways to get inspiration are through exercise. You know, if you treat this really well, this will work a lot better. And that's why I always exercise when I work, right? Or at least I try to. And I've showed you guys this here before. Let me just, I had to click that camera on there. So, like, I use this thing here. Sometimes I do it during the call even. See here? And this is called a QB. And this it releases serotonin in your brain. It's like Prozac, but the healthy way, whatever. And I also have a treadmill that you can't see it's in here as well, which I'm painting green for a course I'm making. Long story. But I find that if you exercise a lot, then you can be more creative and you can think much better. So that helps me a lot with writer's block as well. And another thing I do is when I'm trying to be creative, what I do often is trying to set the scene here. What I do is I only do it if it doesn't feel like work. I have to love it. And we're all a product of our environment, right? And so what I love to do is I love to drink coffee. I love it. I love to listen to music by Hans Zimmer. I love to listen to soundtracks when I work, like the soundtrack for Interstellar, which puts me into a zone. I also love to just kind of be in an environment I enjoy that somewhat lifelike as well. And I go on long walks. And Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison, Larry is the founder of Oracle, big database company here in Redwood City. They used to go for long walks together. And they both came up with great ideas that way. They go by themselves for a walk or together. Because when you're walking, you release serotonin in your brain. And again, if you treat this thing right, this thing will work a lot better. And inspiration comes at the most bizarre times. Like sometimes I'll be driving, I'm like, oh my God, I have to write this article right now, or do whatever. And I'll pull over into McDonald's parking lot or Starbucks, and I'll just write for hours, like Jerry Maguire did all night long. Then he got fired. That was my first date movie with Christine, by the way. So just make sure that it doesn't feel like work to Rohit ever. And if it doesn't feel like work, then I think you'll be much more successful and much more content as well with how it works out. Like for me, my courses I make because I love it. It's actually fun for me. I enjoy it a lot actually. Right? It's a pleasure, an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be able to teach you or even have these calls with you. It's fun for me. And if this felt like work, these 6 hour or however long it is calls every week, they'd be disastrous. This is fun for me. Like I love it. I love it. So, if you love doing what you're doing, then as Confucius said, you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. And for those of you that are struggling and you can't focus in your life, I want you to meditate and think about one time in your life when you were incredibly focused. Maybe you're studying right now and you're like, dude, when I was in university, I used to study, or in high school, I studied way better at the public library, and I can't. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to the same library I went to when I was younger. And I'm going to go deep into the stacks, into my favorite corner, wherever it is. I'm going to bring my Walkman. I'm going to listen to Enya, or whatever it is you listen to. I listen to Chopin a lot, or used to, when I was in the library. And I'm going to recreate that environment. And maybe that will help me come up with some sort of a breakthrough. And for those of you that are really stressed out at work, I want you to take a day off, at least one day a year. That's not because you're physically sick, because you're mentally drained. And when I used to do that, those were big days for me. I'd go on long walks and I'd reassess my life. And I'd kind of, look down upon my life and think about where I am right now see the forest from the trees perspective. And I reassess things. And that was therapeutic for me and really helped me whenever I reached a fork in the road. But, which direction am I going to take? So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. If it wasn't, please let me know, and I'll let you know. But when you're writing a book or doing anything creative, you have to be in the zone. You got to love it. You have to enjoy it. if you're not in the zone, stop writing immediately. It's kind of like with me. If I'm not in the zone, I stop teaching immediately, which hardly ever happens because I love what I do. Kind of like my kids love Fortnite. It's the same thing. Okay. Aroha is saying, any update on the interview or podcast, Chris? Yeah. So we put out our first podcast. We're not marketing it at all, though, because I'm not happy. It's my fault with the audio quality. So we're working on that. It'll be out soon. Okay. It'll be out soon. Now, when it comes to the interview process, yeah, so I'm working on it. I bought a couple of these special microphones here. I don't know if I can pull it over and show you. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So I bought a couple of these that feed into a larger music system. It's called an H6N or something. Yeah. So it can record 2 tracks at the same time. So I've got that all dialed in. We're ready to go. I bought this thing that's going back and forth for interviews, and I learned about it from Dan Rather. So Dan Rather uses this exact same product here. It's portable. So when I interview people in the MBA degree program, I'll be able to do it professionally. I've got special lighting as well. And I know the who's who, CEOs and founders in Silicon Valley. And I'm probably going to interview a lot of them and allow you to ask questions as well during the MBA degree program. And so if you're curious about the MBA degree program, go to my website and you can click through the links there. And by the way, if you guys are happy with the quality of this call, I think we nailed it, maybe. Click the like button, please. It'll help me a lot, too. So anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, some people are saying on or off for the light now. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a little bit behind here. So earlier on, I asked people, should I keep that light on or off? Let's see. All right, I got 1 off, one on, 2 off. All right, looks like off wins. So I operate everything here with these things here. Let's see here. Oh, wrong side. It's hard being a one-man army, man. I love it. That's why I teach you my MBA degree program as well, just to be an army of one. All right, we'll try this version for a while. At Wrigley, let me know what you think too, buddy. Thanks, man. Just send me a text if you want. Yeah. All right. The Will of Dee is saying, should I start life coaching as a service? I do a lot of good things for free. I think it would be nice to turn them into money. What would you advise me to do? Teach. Teach online. Teach on Udemy. Okay, just teach. And when it comes to life coaching, if I can humbly inspire you in any way, check out my course called 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive and Much Happier You. And what I did was I included this book for free in the course as well. And it's kind of like life coaching as well. So if you want, you can check that course out to get ideas, or if you want to be completely different and not be biased by me at all, you don't have to check out this course as well. But yeah, that's what I did. I think that the best life coaching you can do is online on Udemy. All right. All right, next up here. Oh, Carlos, say good evening from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Love Sao Paulo. I love it. I didn't realize, I went there actually through Udemy and this place called Startse, a venture capital company, which actually hired me to, I'm giving a speech in San Francisco through them in a week or two. When I was there in Sao Paulo, giving that speech, I didn't realize how much Italian food influence there was there. It blew me away because Toronto, which for a long time had the most Italians in it of any city in the world, next to Rome, even more in New York, that's right. Sao Paulo has even bigger Italian influence. I love it. And you can get the most incredible mortadella sandwiches there. I love it. And they do it different there. They actually layer all the mortadella, whereas in Toronto, they just sell it as is. All good. Thank you, Fausto. Welcome. All right, Carlos is saying, when you launch your new course about making videos, or when I'm going to, yeah. So that course is going to be out within a couple of months. I've done a lot of the work already. I'm actually a little bit more so focused up here on the MBA degree program. I'm making a lot of MBA degree courses now, hence the background stuff. But within a couple months, the complete YouTube course will be out, and this video course as well. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going all out and having a blast doing it as well. It's fun. I've spent so much money on props. I don't even care if it makes money. Like that. I know it's crazy. It's weird for me to say that. I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun with it. So, and I find that when I enjoy something, have fun with it, things work a lot better. That shadow behind me is driving me crazy. Hold on. Not that one. That one there. All right, hold on. I'm so sorry, guys. I got to turn this light back on. All right, there we go. Good. All right, next question I've got is, thank you. I've been exploring a lot on Fiverr. It's like a whole new world open to me. I don't need to worry about having to hire people to help out my projects. I'll hire them there. That's great. I do the same. Any tips on how to maximize the results using Fiverr, and what types of things should we avoid of Fiverr? Yeah. So always use people that have a lot of ratings, right? And try to get people that have ratings of 4.4 or 4.5 and above if you can. Don't ever do it with anybody that's brand new, right? So, and they do a pretty good job of making sure that people don't doctor the ratings, meaning rate themselves, right? Just like Udemy, they do a good job of that as well. So that's what I would say. All right. Yeah, Craig is saying you can list books you've read, like autobiographies, in your CV. Yeah. So when you have your resume, and I have a course called Build the Best Resume. I don't know what else to call it, but it's a course on how to build the best resume. And there's usually 3 sections. You start with work experience, if that's your strength, or education, if that's your strength. Okay. So it goes work experience, education, and at the bottom is personal. Really important at the bottom of your one-page resume, 1 page only, to list your hobbies, because a lot of the times when people interview you, they're going to look there, and that's what they're going to, there's going to be, chit chat about that. Like when I interviewed at a big hedge fund called Citadel, my mentor, a guy named Carson Levitt, who headed up equities there, at the bottom of my resume, it said baseball. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you love baseball." And he put my resume down. We talked for an hour about baseball. So just list your hobbies, and it just makes it more fun too, meeting with these people, and just be yourself too. Be yourself. Yeah. All right, Rohit is saying, are we allowed to make Chris Haroun memes just for fun? So many hours of content to make some great memes. No, thank you. Yeah, sure. Please do. Please do. I'm sure someone's going to do one too with my big nose. And by the way, this nose is really aerodynamic. Okay. Maybe that's why I'm hunchback these days. It just pulls me down. Right. But it's very aerodynamic. So when I'm tucking and I'm skiing, dude, like I go bullet fast because of this thing. All right. Thanks, Dad. All right. But yeah, by all memes, make memes of me. All right. EJ is saying, Chris, can you talk more about the quantified self movement? Is it a hassle to keep track of? How can it improve your life? Yeah. So now I'm insecure. I'm watching the replay of my nose there. Just kidding. Yeah. So the quantified self movement is basically a way to track yourself and improve every aspect of your life. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I'm wearing on my back here this thing. Okay. I'll take it off actually. Hold on. So this thing here, it alerts me when my posture's not great. Okay. It vibrates. You'll hear it here. Hold on. Yeah. So there's a 2-week return policy at the Apple Store. I might return. I'm not sure, but I like it for now. So I love to. It's kind of like when you're a parent. Like I've got 3 wonderful children, and they have a little brother and me, sort of. Not kidding, actually. But when you have children, you discipline them in a way that you want to help them. You help them with their diet. When Andrew is sitting at the table like this, I always just, hey, buddy, sit up, whatever. And then when you get older, your parents aren't around there to discipline you. So the best way to self-discipline, or part way to do it, is to use technology. And so I love using it's a Bluetooth thermos made by the Thermos Corporation. It's $29 on Amazon. I love this back thing as well. I wear this around my wrist, which I talked about earlier, from a company called Whoop Whoop, there it is, WHOOP. And a lot of people in the NBA wear it under the wristband. It'll tell me when I'm getting sick, if I should be training harder, etc. I wear down here. Now you're going to think I'm nuts. Let's see if you can see it even. I bought, there's a double strap you can buy, right, for my Fitbit down here. It's just a Fitbit watch. Anyway, I do it there. I feel like a convict on house arrest here. I wear that because it tracks my steps better, and it's out of the way. And I use this QB thing down below, and I've got a treadmill that hooks up to Wi-Fi or to Bluetooth. I do all this stuff with one goal in mind, which is to make me live longer. And every day I actually, I quantify it. I have one of these things here. Whoops, that just spilled. It's just, oh, it's water. It's right here. I have a drinking problem. Okay. And what's in this thing here, I make this every Sunday, right? And it's basically every antioxidant you can think of. Kale, ginger, everything. And I drink that throughout the day. Everything I do, I monitor closely. And I use that daily schedule I've shown you in previous webcasts. I'm not going to go there again. To schedule my day before. And I grade myself at night before I go to bed and schedule next day. Did I violate certain covenants? Like did I forget to pray or whatever it is? Did I eat the right foods and get 20,000 steps in, which you and I both know means 10,000 steps. I don't do it on weekends though because it would drive me nutty. But no, I do quantify myself and a lot of stuff I do, and I'm extraordinarily competitive with myself. You know, and one guy that really inspired me a lot in my life is Matthew McConaughey. And for those of you who took my entire MBA in one course, we're analyzing speeches, how to give a great speech. And we actually analyze Matthew McConaughey's Oscar for Best Actor speech in 2014. And what he says in that speech, he's so open to himself. He doesn't give a damn, right? Like at one point in the speech, he's like, "I want to thank you, Dad. I know you're up in heaven, and I know that you're so happy now. You're dancing around your underwears with a can of Miller Lite and whatever. You're just himself." But what Matthew McConaughey said in that speech was that his biggest competitor, or who he aspires to be, is himself in the future, and he's competing with himself in the past. He's trying to be a better version of himself, always, pushing the goalpost out. Always. And that guy's pretty well-rounded too. Great family, great shape, great actor, comedy actor, serious. He's great. But he's challenging himself, right? And his biggest competitor is himself. So anyway, just keep challenging yourself and pushing the goalpost out as much as you possibly can. And a great way to challenge yourself and to quantify if things are making a difference is by doing is using Bluetooth. Now I want to show you how to measure your body fat. Let's see if I have it handy. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay? Hold on. All right. You can still hear me actually. Sorry, I put it in the closet, but it's basically it's actually in the bathroom closet over there. So it's hold on 1 second. I'm having an audio problem here, guys. 1 second. So sorry. Test. So I bought. It's called the Fitbit Aria scale, and what it does is it actually measures your body fat. Right, and so if you want to be really cut, you have to have like 7 or 8%. I'm just under 10% now. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Testing. Okay, we're good. All right, great. Sorry, I knocked this out. So I always have 2 audios I record. Okay, 2. Yeah. Just in case one goes down, because once you use audio, you're done. So anyway, sorry about that, guys. I'll show you the Fitbit Aria scale later if you want. You can also buy one from a company called Omron for $12, which basically you hold up in bare feet, and it'll tell you, and you have to enter in your height. It'll tell you how much body fat you have. So I always compete with myself. Yeah, and so Will of Dee, I'd hire a lawyer to look at the contract. Yeah, thanks. All right, Cheng Ying from the Philippines. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Hi, Chris. Reading your networking book this week. Woohoo! Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and then we've got Carlos is saying how interesting the relationship of Udemy, just as Google is for search engines. Yeah. And how critical it is marketing push they provide for teachers. It's true, man. It's totally true. So yeah, Udemy basically, what they do is they market your stuff, which is great. They're amazing. Yeah, yeah. And Skillshare too. Yeah, I partner with them as well. They're great as well. Yeah. All right, next. And then Craig is saying stress is a killer. Yeah, absolutely. An experiment in Chernobyl in the 90s showed 0 deaths from radiation, 100% due to stress. How fascinating is that? Thanks, Craig, for that. So I'm watching right now the special miniseries on HBO on Chernobyl. Watch it if you can. It's brilliantly done. And for those of you not familiar, in 1986, in Chernobyl, there was a big nuclear reactor that exploded, which could have basically destroyed the entire world if they weren't careful about the cleanup. And then Craig is saying all of the deaths the decade afterwards. So it happened in 86. And all the deaths in the 90 in that area was due to stress, not radiation. It's interesting. Stress is a killer, man. It's the number one killer. Number one killer. Yeah. All right. And everybody, you should always analyze like what your parents or your grandparents or aunts or uncles, what diseases they have or had, because that's what you're going to get. And I say it because a lot of diseases we get, it's not diet, it's just genetic. And so for me, I have very high cholesterol. And I've tried everything. I've changed my diet. I tried red rice yeast, special thing to take. Nothing worked. And my dad has high cholesterol. My dad had a heart attack in January of 2005. And thank God he's fine. Thank God he's fine. It was the same day that Johnny Carson passed away. I remember that. But when that happened, I obviously reassessed things. I bought my dad a bike right away that went right in front of the TV. And I went to the fridge and I threw out all the Middle Eastern meats and cheeses and stuff. And I put the bike by the TV, which turned into a beautiful coat rack for him. But no, I realized that that was a scary day. And actually, I remember when it happened. My dad had a heart attack. The day afterwards, like I flew from San Francisco. I'll never forget it. We got the call in the middle of the night. And it was my Aunt Dorothy, who's my godmother. And she said, your father's had a heart attack. And I was packing in the middle of the night, and Christine was calling the airline, getting tickets. And I'll never forget this. I threw in, I'm such a positive person. Too positive sometimes, but whatever. I was throwing in all my clothes and stuff into the suitcase. And then I had a tie and a black jacket. And I put it in and my black shoes. And then I went like this. I picked up my black shoes and my tie, and I said, fuck you, black shoe and ties. And I threw it aside. He's not going to die. And he didn't, thank God. And I prayed like crazy. It was sad, but it worked out all right. But I mention this because the day afterwards, when he was fine, we went to see him in the hospital in Toronto, Mississauga, actually, right by Toronto. When I saw him, I was so happy that he was fine. And I was so grateful to God. And it was interesting because I was more happy that day than I was a couple days before the incident occurred. Because I appreciated what I have and still have in life. And I think that like what I start every day with myself is I lie in bed, I say a quick prayer, and I thank God for 10 different things. Always, every day. Just appreciate what you have. Gratitude's a beautiful thing. It can help you out tremendously. Perception ultimately becomes reality. But the reason I mentioned the heart attack is because, I biohack a lot. Like I take a lot of vitamins, herbs. I've showed you guys in the past, but I still have high cholesterol. And so I had to take a simvastatin. It's basically a stent, or simvastatin. It's a drug, that lowers my cholesterol. And I had to take, and there are minor side effects. It's not the end of the world, right? Like your liver if you drink, which I don't drink. So, but I mentioned it because you gotta analyze what your parents have in life, what diseases, and ask, and then treat it. And if you can treat it ahead of time, you'll never get those diseases anyway. If you can. But for those of you who haven't had your cholesterol checked, please check it, because what it means is this: cholesterol basically clogs veins that go into your heart, and you will get a heart attack if you don't get it checked. So check it out if you can. And last thing I'll say about quantified self is that I actually, so I get my blood work done all the time. And I look at every single thing, and urine as well, whatever. And I check every little thing that comes back from Quest Diagnostics in that lab test myself. Doctors don't know, man. Like they'll try to help you, but look at them. A lot of them are not in good shape. You got to do your own research. So always get a second opinion too if they diagnose you with something. Yeah. All right. Vineet saying hi. Hi, Vineet. How are you? Baloo is saying, hi, Chris. You're my guru and my mentor. I love you. Love you more. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. And I've got that image in my mind now of the Love Guru, that movie with Mike Myers. It was the worst. It destroyed Mike Myers' career. Well, I don't know if it destroyed it, sorry, but it wasn't great. I thought it was funny, though. Thank you for that. All right. Big Yen is saying, hi, Chris. How can we scale up a financial modeling, valuation, consulting business virtually? How can we get the targeted client and provide modeling and valuation services being outside of the USA and Canada? Yeah. So I used to use several people offshore in India to do my financial modeling. And it was great. The pricing point was lower. And I think it was done through a company called Cognizant, CTSH, which maybe it was SAP bought that. I can't remember. It's a great business model because I had very high quality modeling done overseas, which cost a little bit less per hour than what I would have paid ultimately myself. So if you're figuring out how to do that, what I would do is just do a search online of other companies that do that, meaning they outsource to India, for example, not just technology skills, but financial modeling skills. Check out their website, figure it out. And then, maybe give them a call and learn a little bit more about the business model. They'll talk to you. Why not? Maybe hire someone for an hour just to figure out how it all works. And I think the biggest trick is going to be, how do you get the customers? How are you going to do it? And so, let me know a little bit more about your business model, and I'll help you understand how to do it and how to market and how to network like crazy to get customers, right? And so just read this networking book of mine, whatever. You can get it from my website for free, just so you can figure out how to actually get the customers. And if you have more specific questions, please let me know. Thank you. All right. Danios is saying, hi, Chris. I noticed you logged into Fiverr using another program to populate your password. Do you mind sharing what system you use for safety? If you can't share software, it's totally fine. So that's actually, it's just Safari, right? It's done. What happens is this: if you actually go and enter in a password, a lot of us use our finger, right, to scan it. Let's see here. Yeah. To scan it. But if I were to go to, I don't know, if I were to go to new private window, okay, and if I said YouTube, and then I wanted to log in, and if I wanted to sign in here, okay, you see what's happening right there is this here is saying, hey, put your finger on your Mac and let it scan your password on my MacBook Pro, which I just bought a new one. But because my MacBook Pro is down there, I can't do that. So it then says, okay, if you can't do that, then enter in the password you use to log in to your Mac. That's what it's doing with Safari. That's all it is. That's all it is. But thanks for asking. Appreciate it. All right, go back here to Big Chris. All right, thanks again, Balu, for that. Appreciate it. All right, next up, Craig Scott, who's saying, as a boy in South Africa, someone called me baboon because I have wide feet. There was a house stood on a hill. It's not there. No, it's shifted. McConnell. Yeah. And I was called baboon because it rhymes with Haroun, and I kind of look like a baboon. Like, seriously, I do. Like, you got to admit, little bit like a baboon. Yeah. Do you know, by the way, you can't try tapping your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. It's almost impossible. Try that. Yeah. All right. Anadi is saying, how do you do sector analysis when investing? For instance, suppose I have $1,000 and I want to invest in a single stock for the medium term, meaning 1 to 3 years. How do I find the sector which is best for investing? Yeah, so take my complete financial analyst training course, because I talk about how to do top-down versus bottoms-up investing. So top-down would basically be you pick the sector that you think is going to be more relevant in 5 years. And the example I used was cloud software. So I said, in 5 years, will more people be using cloud computing or fewer people? Well, more people instead of antiquated client server, meaning just in your computer, not connected to the internet. Okay, so what are the fastest growing companies in the cloud software sector? Well, Salesforce at the time was growing very, very fast. And which one of these companies have superb management teams where the founder's still there? There's a couple, and Salesforce was the one. Then I started doing bottoms-up research on Salesforce, and it's been a great company to invest in. Yeah. So that's how you see the forest from the trees, and you do top-down investing, and then you follow it up with bottoms-up investing. Once you select the sector that you're most passionate about, that you think in 5 years is going to be more relevant than it is today. Sorry about the lawnmower in the background there, guys. Every Thursday, my neighbor cuts the grass. That pisses me off because I want to do one of these calls outside, and I have all the equipment set up. I have 300 feet of Ethernet cable. If you want to connect HDMI and 2 monitors and a camera, you have to do it with Ethernet, Cat 6, not Cat 7. Nerding out there. I'll do it 1 week, and I just had the deck sanded out back as well. And I want it to be more intimate. I want my students to. I want it to be more fun. Like I want to bring you upstairs and we'll have coffee together by the fireplace, whatever. Go by the pool on a nice day and just do this, especially when we do the MBA degree program stuff as well. All right. Ismail is saying, hi, Chris. Hey, bud. How are you? I live in Toronto. Yeah, Raptors tonight. So dude, if you check out Jurassic Park right now, so Jurassic Park, for those you don't know, it's a park in Canada. And the Raptors, the Toronto Raptors, the name was that because of Jurassic Park was a big deal in the 80s. But I bet you people are lining up right now at Jurassic Park. So I'm jealous you're there. So you're saying, I live in Toronto and I want to transfer money from Egypt. Oh, cool. My dad's from Sohag. He immigrated from Sohag, which is 2 hours south of Cairo, to Canada. And by the way, for those of you that have relatives that were born somewhere else, while you still can, please do this. Meet with them. Go to Google Earth on your laptop, bring your laptop with you, and record the screen and ask them to walk you through where they grew up. I did it with my dad. It was a beautiful thing. And of course my children want to see that, my grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. Imagine that. And my dad said, this is our balcony, and there's the Coptic church, and there's where I would go for a loaf of bread. Do that if you can. Actually, I took my kids to on Google Earth. It was like 7 or 8 years ago, to Chernobyl, just to show them what it looks like. And it was weird, man. It was like from that video game, The Last of Us, which is an amazing video game. There are trees growing through buildings and stuff. It's a ghost town. It's pretty cool. All right, focus, Chris, focus. Ismail is saying, I live in Toronto, and I want to transfer money from Egypt. What is the best way to transfer them in cash without a bank account or charges? Yeah. So my dad, every Sunday morning, he talks to Egypt. I know because all I hear is, I don't speak Arabic. I can say imshi and yowalet. My dad used to say that to me. But I think he would just mail checks. That's what he would do. Wiring service, I don't know. Maybe you could look at Venmo or PayPal, right? If they're on PayPal. And I don't know if they can be, if they can link to a credit card, like a Visa, Amex, American Express, whatever. My dad used to do it the old way, though. All right, Ismail's got a follow-up. What is the best passive income method in Toronto or in Canada in general? So I still think it's teaching. And I know I mentioned that a lot, but I think that the best way to make money on the side is by teaching. Everybody has something to teach, and when one teaches, to learn. And it's easy to do, and anybody can set it up. And as you come on these weekly calls, if you want to keep coming back, I hope you do. Ask me questions, and I'll help you get set up. I'll walk you through the process. And you can always go to udemy.com and do a search on my last name, and you'll see I have free courses every year on how to teach online based on mistakes I've made, so you can work smarter and not harder. Yeah. Egypt in the house. I like it. I've never been to Egypt, man. I'd love to go. My dad actually, he bribed an army official in 1967 to fail his eye physical, so he didn't have to go in the army. And he left the country and came to Canada. But my uncle Edward was a pilot in that war. Yeah. All right, war is bad. All right, Patty. Hey, Patty, how are you? Patty is saying, good morning, Patty here. Thank you for your advice for my brother. Oh, yeah, that's right, for a company I rhymed with, Ramazon. I remember that, yeah. In the great state of Washington, which is the northeast of the United States, northwest. He was given the option to either take the severance package or get on the improvement plan. While your advice was to stay on and get the plan, he has decided to leave. He is so disgusted, disappointed with the arrogance of management in his department that he wants to leave. While I have tried to change his mind, I realize that I can't. Yeah. My brother wants to take travel for a couple of weeks to clear his mind due to the stress of working in that toxic environment. And just a little side note here. I know it's Amazon, like we talked about last week. Amazon is, it's a hard company to work at. Like I know a woman that's been there a year and a half, and that's lifetime employment there, please. It's really, really, really tough. Really, really tough place to work. I advise if anybody's in that situation working for somebody and they're not happy, just use that frustration and channel it, because frustration is a good thing. Because it will kind of force you to get a better job that will pay you more, or more importantly, start your own company so you can live your life in your own terms. And frustration is a good thing. It's healthy. It's healthy, yeah. I'm sorry he's going through that, though. It is a rough place to work. I know that for a fact. Yeah. Okay, and then you wrote here, okay. I advised him to get your networking book when he is ready. Do you have any other advice for him? Yeah, I would say, Patty, just, and all my answers are generic enough to help everybody in the call. I would say that just tell him to do something he loves doing, he enjoys the most in life. Oops, I just cut myself there. Might have. Problem is my nails. I'm growing my nails a bit longer now. They're usually really short because I the photography course or videography course, you're going to see my hands closely. And I just scratched myself. All right, anyway. I would tell him just to find out, do soul searching on that vacation he's taking and really figure out what he wants to do in life. And if he wants to step it up a notch, what he can do is, if you want, he can actually, take this course of mine and read this book, 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive, Much Happier You. And that course is on Udemy, but he should just try to focus on what he loves doing most in life. And it can't just be about money. It's got to be something he enjoys, something he loves. And vacation is wonderful for that, because vacation not only rests your heart, but your mind as well. Anyway, yeah. But I'd recommend also he should write down his 10-year goals. And just do a gap analysis. And last thing I'll say about Amazon. Amazon does one thing really well, though. Many things well. Jeff Bezos at Amazon, what he does is he has the product manager on all products write down a press release today that's going to be released in 1 year. And he does that because that becomes a rudimentary goal-setting workshop. So all these product managers on products like Kindle, Prime, etc., they know what they have to aspire to. There's a gap. And get your brother write down his 10-year goals as well, and then work on filling that gap as well. And if he has a more specific question, I'd be more than happy to help him out. But it's got to be about doing something he's passionate about and love. And he's learned valuable lessons probably on how not to manage people. And he can take that with him so that when he starts his empire, he'll know how to manage people and treat them the right way. Yeah. All right. My next question is related to arrogance in the workplace. Do you think you need to be arrogant to get to the top in corporate America? Ooh. I think there's a big difference between arrogance and confidence. I think in order to make it to the top in any industry or any profession, you have to be confident. It's simple. Flip that switch on. I think, therefore I can do it. Perception becomes reality. Confidence will help. I don't think arrogance will help too much. I know that a lot of jerks make it to the top because they're two-faced and they treat people more junior to them or their peers like crap. but they kiss ass to people that are more senior than them. But you know what, dude? Karma's a bitch, and they will get caught. They will get caught. Like, I think if you're a bad person and you make it to the top, you will get caught eventually. But I think that the people that are extraordinarily successful are not arrogant. I think they're just confident in their own abilities. Yeah. And it's funny because when you mention all this stuff, it reminds me of why I hated working at big companies. I hated it. I hated, the fact that I would go into work and I couldn't be myself. I wasn't laughing anymore like I used to be. It's like it's corporate lobotomy. It's kind of what I think of it. You're not yourself. So if anybody is going through that right now, and I know there's a number of people in the call that are going through that, I'm sorry you're going through that, but channel that frustration. Channel that frustration to start your own company or to find a better job or go back to school, wherever it might be. Yeah. Okay. And Patty's saying, I come from academia and I think otherwise. And yeah. But I've noticed that arrogance seems to be common denominator of top management in corporate America after observing my brother's situation and also other people's experience. Please advise. Thank you for reading my long message. I love your messages. Thanks, Pat. Send more, please. So perception becomes reality as well. If there's a salesperson that's pitching their business to you or trying to sell you a product, if they sound confident, confidence leads to perceived competence. So I think it's extraordinarily important to be confident in yourself and in business and what you're selling. But if you're a little too arrogant or overconfident, you'll rub people the wrong way. Like there's this website called rev.com where I used to get all of my all of my stuff captioned, right, closed captioned, and they were great. And then I had problems on one of the orders, and I called, and they basically, their answer was, you're never going to find anywhere else that does captions as cheap as we do. And that was a little arrogant, and because of that, I don't do business with them anymore. Yeah, that's the whole story. Kind of crazy. Yeah, but I think being too confident or overconfident can really hurt you. Yeah. Patty is saying, great t-shirt, by the way. Thank you. And since I will adopt your stance on passing things forward, please let me know what I can do for you. Oh, thank you, Patty. God bless you. Just nothing. Just let me know how I can humbly help. Because I get this, we're all genetically different. And for me, I get depressed if I don't help people every day. It's just who I am. It's just how I'm programmed. We're all so different. It's amazing. And so it's like if the feeling, right? So if you have $1 or $5, whatever it is, and you spend that $1 or $5 on yourself, you maybe feel this happy. But if you give it away and help improve someone's life, you feel that happy. So this is how I get to feel happy, and it's just fun. I don't have a job. I have a passion. I love all your questions. Thank you. All right. Win-Win Capital is saying, Chris Habibi, did you get my email? Habibi. My last name is Chris Haroun. I've been putting the ha in Habibi since 1972, okay? Habibi is friend in Arabic, and it means other thing too. My dad used to say batata to my little sisters. Yeah. I haven't checked email. I'm sorry. I'll check right now, but I don't usually respond to emails. Not because I don't want to help. It's just because I'm so inundated. If I don't respond to someone's message ever, please don't take it the wrong way. I'm not ignoring you. I just can't keep up. Hold on one second, but because you mentioned it here, I got UPS just dropped a box off my front door. UPS. And my son Dylan, he saw UPS at the door the other day. He said, "Daddy, Ups is here." Yeah, I don't see your email. Sorry. I don't. But if you want, copy and paste it here directly into. Yeah. Thank you. Now I'm curious, man. We're Win-Win Capital and Investments. Where you're from, man? Habibi. We're actually doing a case study in the MBA degree program on the Arabic version of Chipotle, which was started by a good friend of mine. It's called Saj, S-A-A-J. And he asked me for taglines to help him with his business. And I said, dude, your falafel is so good that after eating it, you don't feel awful. Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, Rudy is insurance. I remember that. Good for you, brother. Good for you. And now I know what you mean by regulatory authority. Good for you, man. I'm happy for you. You made my day. Okay, Kaivan. Hey, how are you? First time seeing you on the call. Hope you can join us again. Thank you. Hi, Chris. I have an idea to try and make it real. It's a beverage, and I'm sure it could be the healthier beverage opportunity. I'm following with your course on business plan, but I don't know the next step. Okay. All right. So let me know a little bit more about where you are. If you take the entire business plan course, like make sure you write the entire business plan in my course. And once you've done that, if you have questions on the next step, let me know, please. Let me know. A lot of it will probably come down to getting somebody to invest in your company. I don't want you to use your own money ever. I always want you to use OPM, not the drug opium, but OPM stands for other people's money. And so if you haven't read this yet, go to my website, harounventures.com, and read it, please, because this will help you get meetings with high net worth investors that will invest in your company. Get angel investors or high net worth investors. Please don't get a loan from the bank, because banks, as I mentioned in my courses, they're chicken. And if you pay your loan back late, they can take your house and all your assets and your company. That's why you got to talk to a lawyer first, always, and register your company as well. Yeah. All right, Patty, thank you for that. I'm keeping both lights on. Thank you. All right. Yeah, Kevin, I agree with Craig. You got to do market research and find out, what the total addressable market is. And without me doing any research at all or knowing anything about your product, I'm sure it's great. I think, okay, it's a really tough market to compete in. The margins are really, really thin. There's a reason why a handful of beverage companies dominate the market, because they scale the crap out of it. So, for example, Coca-Cola, right? They have massive distribution channels and relationships with every store in the world, basically in every country, right? That sells beverages. And because they already have those mature distribution channels in place, if they buy a company like Orangina, or if they buy a company like Dasani Water, which they did, it's cheap for them to just sell that stuff into their distribution channels. You know what is your competitive advantage over them, right? And I'm just trying to be devil's advocate and help you. And I say this with love in my heart. What differentiates your product? How can you compete on a margin perspective? What's going to stop somebody from copying your beverage idea? Can you patent it? If you can, is it just about branding and not what the beverage is? If it's just branding, then you can actually get a trademark on it for $400. If you need to patent what's in the secret sauce, or the Coca-Cola secret, so to speak, you have to talk to a patent attorney as well before you do it. So these are just some of the things I would think about before starting that business. Yeah, and again, take my entire complete business plan course. Got confused there, because that will help you think about all these topics. And if you have more specific questions, I'm here for you 24/7, 365 forever. Yeah, every Thursday. All right. Win-Win Capital is saying, I hope you're not giving these poor people the impression that if they love something, they don't have to work hard. As a matter of fact, they'll need to work harder. Yeah. No, I love that. Thank you for that, Habibi. I think that if you love what you do, you will naturally work harder at it. Okay? Always. Like if you absolutely love, that's why when you play video games, and a lot of people that work in the technology industry are former video gamers. They love it. If you play video games, you don't check the time. You play for like 10, 12 hours straight, like Fortnite or whatever it is. And when you code, like I remember I used to be a programmer at Accenture years ago. I remember I would code for 10, 12 hours in a row without moving, because I was in a zone. I loved it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And if you enjoy what you do, you're going to do it all the time. Just think about, sports. Think of athletes. They love it. They just love it. Musicians, they love it. You think of a video game multimillionaires like that guy Ninja who makes a fortune over Twitch, whatever. He plays Fortnite. He loves what he does. And anybody that's very successful at what they do, they love what they do to the extent that that's what they spend most of their time doing. And one of the problems, actually, when you find what you love what you do, and it's one of my problems, is how much is enough, Chris? Like, sometimes I got to just say, you know what, man? Put it aside. Spend more time with Christine and the kids. Don't forget on Sundays a family day, that sort of thing. So that's one of the issues of running your own company. But it becomes like one of your children. You don't love it as much, but you get really attached to it and you love it like you love a child. Obviously, you love a child more than you love your own business. But I think you know what I'm getting at. If you love what you do, you're going to work hard, right? But it's not going to feel like work because you're going to love doing what you're doing. And I remember when I decided that I'm just going to teach forever, and I quit my job in venture capital. I just wanted to do Udemy. I decided in February 2016, and I woke up one night and I had tears in my eyes. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is all I want to do. And I get up in the middle of the night sometimes. Like when I used to look at my clock in the middle of the night, I'm like, yes, I have 3 more hours to sleep. Now I look at it, I'm like, F&A, I'm getting up. I'm going to get my coffee. I'm going to start working now. I just love it. I love it. You'll know when you find it. Keep searching. Habibi. All right, Neha is saying, what kind of questions they ask during executive interviews, like case studies? Yeah, it all depends on the industry. Yeah, so for anybody preparing for an interview, you can take my course called the Complete Job Course, or another course of mine is How to Interview Better Than Anybody. I know it's kind of a weird name, but the questions they're going to ask you, some of the simple ones are basically, tell me about X, and X is every line on your resume. So just practice that. They might try and ruffle your feathers, right? Kind of push you, be a little bit arrogant with you, because they're trying to think, okay, I'm interviewing this person. I'm going to pretend that they are selling me something and I'm a jerk client. They might see how you perform under pressure. They might also ask you questions and have you drill down until you can't answer the question anymore to see if you're going to BS. For example, when I was at Goldman Sachs, or when I interviewed there in August of 1998, there's a guy named Jordan Waxman. I remember this guy, actually. Yeah, Jordan Waxman. Yeah, he worked in private wealth management there at the time. And Jordan, I remember he asked me, he said, Chris, what markets do you follow in Europe? And I mentioned, CAC, or DAX, or not, German, French markets. And he said, what's the index in Germany? And I said, the DAX. And he said, name one company you follow on that index? And at the time, I said, well, Daimler Chrysler. And he said, who's the CEO of Daimler Chrysler? And I said, well, it's Jürgen Schremp at the time. And he said, well, who's the CFO? I said, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. So they try to drill down to see how you work under pressure. And they might actually, if it's a senior executive role, they want to see how you think. And so they might actually ask you about a business problem they have to see how you'll answer it, because they could use you for help as well through the interview process, even if they don't hire you. And so when I interviewed in Toronto, I interviewed with a company called the Boston Consulting Group, or BCG. And I'll never forget, I went into the interview and the questions were so specific. I knew what he was talking about. He asked me a question about newspapers. And he said, let's just say the Toronto Sun doesn't know how many newspapers to make. How should they think about it? And I think their client at the time was the Star.com, or the Toronto Star. So yeah, and a way you can actually prepare for these case studies. And let me give you all a great resource, okay? I don't always try to pitch my own stuff. I just want you to win at any cost. I want you to go to vaultreports.com. And then, is it coming? Is it still in business? I'll do a search here. Hold on. Vault Reports. And what you can do is you can get, it'll correct me. Ooh, that's kind of scary. It didn't work there. Vaultreports.com. A company go belly up. Let me try again. Hold on. Vault Reports, because you can get these really good. Vault.com. I did vaultreports.com. But you can go to this website. Here we go. Yeah, we're good. Oh. Yeah. And then what you can do is you can look through here for case study books. And they're company review books that you can read before interviewing. Right? So it's amazing. It's amazing. I did this for my Goldman interview, actually. right? So you could case interviews. So here's what I recommend for you for the executive position. Read this book, The Case Interviews. This will tell you how to interview at McKinsey, BCG, and that sort of thing. Here's one for finance interviews as well. And you can actually find featured companies, right? So say you want to work at, I don't know, McKinsey. You click here and you can buy this McKinsey book, right? And they're worth it. They're worth it. And I don't get compensated at all for this stuff, please. But you can download these PDFs and you can find out, what's it like interviewing here? You know, what's it like to work there? And it actually works for a lot of companies. And again, there's a ton means a damn big amount. A ton of books you can buy here and download. They're all great. The top 100 law firms, whatever, how to get an internship. You can learn about the top 15 banking employers, the top 50 management consulting firms. You can even drill down if you want and go here into investment management. And you can get guides on wealth management, hedge funds, investment management, how to interview at these places, hedge funds, etc. All this great stuff. And you can also learn it for specific companies as well. Like there was one here on Goldman Sachs I bought years ago before I interviewed. They're in here somewhere, individual company ones as well. So anyway, use it, love it, learn it. I think it's extraordinarily helpful. So check it out if you can. And as always, whenever I answer these questions, I try to make my answers generic enough to kind of apply to everybody. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we have here. So Anadi is saying, I instantly tried tapping my head and rubbing my tummy. Just start doing one and it's quite easy the other at the same time. That's right. It's like my little sister, Elizabeth, when I was like 20 or so. I was about to go on a date. She was 12. And she said, oh, wait, before you go, let me show you something. I was like, what? She's like, this is a really cool trick. You ready? I said, yeah, sure. And Elizabeth, we called her Yaba because Elizabeth's hard to say. She said, take your chin. Don't anybody do this, by the way. Take your chin and squeeze as tight as you can, like that. As tight as you can, right? And so I did it. I was like, should I keep doing it? And a minute left, she goes, hold on, you're going to love this. Just wait. 30 seconds go by. It's a minute and a half. I was like, can I stop now? She's like, no, tighter. I was like, dude, I got to go. So I did it for 2 minutes and I took my hand off. And dude, my entire chin was purple, like dark purple. And she said, have a good date. Pretty funny. Another one is this. It's impossible to lick your elbow. Try that. You can't do it. Last one I'll say is this. This is kind of neat, actually. The span of your arms is exactly your height. Try that. It's neat. All right, moving on. So Craig is saying, I do support CND. However, the asteroid at the KT boundary released the equivalent of 1 billion nukes. If the mantle was liquid, something the size of Everest would have punched a hole through the earth. Yeah. I think this is about the Chernobyl. And then Craig is saying, I practiced tapping and rubbing my tummy. I taught my muscles to work independently. The nervous system extends to the tips of toes and fingers ever since I have focused on muscle memory 1. It's cool. And you're saying the reason why I use a stool to remind me to engage abdominal muscles to help with posture. I get it in the shoulders and upper back. I used to be scared of leaning back. I learned to trust my balance. Yeah. It's like yoga, baby pose. And then Nadi is saying, how do I stop my habit of biting my nails? Okay, I'm going to tell you exactly how. I've tried many times and partially succeeded, but sometimes I bite my nails without even realizing I'm doing that. Yeah. And by the way, there's not many questions left, so everybody keep typing questions or the call will end. That's not a threat. Just it is what it is, please. So here's what I do. So I'm doing this photography course and or videography course, and I have a camera looking down on me, and I take apart a camera and I show you GoPros and all this cool stuff. And I've been biting my nails my entire life. So what I did was Christine, like if you see me hold up books in the past, it's brutal, right? See if you can focus on that. I don't know if you can, but they're actually long now. And I don't know what to do, right? I guess I have to get a nail cutter, which I don't know how to use. What I did was this. Christine, my wife, showed me this stuff, which I bought. And it's like putting nail polish on, right? Just like my wife does, except it's clear and it tastes awful. like like a grapefruit, awful, but worse than that. You know what I'm talking about? That bitter taste. And so I put it on every couple of days, and that's why I don't bite them at all. That's why they look a lot better. So try that out too. And if you're going to an interview, perception becomes reality. First impression is important because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So I really recommend doing that before your interviews as well. If you have issues with your nails, which I clearly do. Yeah. For any of you that took my my entire MBA 1 course, if you look closely, you'll see that the roof of my lip here is cut because I was biting my nails and I cut it. Anyway, laugh at me, not with me, folks, please. Okay. All right, let's see what else we got here. So Vinny is saying, Chris, any suggestions about banking or economics courses or where to start? Yeah. So I would take my my complete financial analyst training course, because what we do is we start top down, and then by the end of the course we do bottoms up. And so in the first couple lectures of that course, again, it's called the Complete Financial Analyst course on Udemy, or you can go to harounventures.com and click through for a coupon. But in the first couple lectures, we start a high-level economic perspective, and we analyze data from the World Bank, the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, etc. We talk about tariffs. We talk about growth of GDP longer term and how I think China is going to pass the United States GDP-wise by 2040 or so. So we start high level, and then we drill down from there. And the way we do it is I pretend in that course that you're working for my company, which is a fictitious company called MHS, which stands for Morgan Haroun Sachs. Please don't sue me, Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley. And I have you rotate through the different departments within that fictitious firm, including investment banking, sales and trading, private wealth management, economist stuff as well. So take that course. That will help you understand from a high-level perspective the world of finance, and also from a bottoms-up perspective based on what financial analyst role you might be most interested in. And as always, if you have follow-up questions, please let me know, and thank you. All right. Now, Craig is saying, writing seems to be a skill set I might be able to generate a living from. What business professions could use such a skill set with consistency? Authoring a book isn't appealing to me. Yeah. So a lot of people use ghostwriters, so obviously that wouldn't be appealing to you. I don't do that. I think it's unethical. What I think might be good is copywriting, and that's a profession. Writing press releases and whatnot. Maybe do that. Maybe go to Fiverr.com or Upwork.com and search for copywriting, and you might be able to use your skill set there. And I think you'd be very good at it because you're a prolific writer based on your questions and comments always in this call, which I always enjoy. Thank you. All right, Ahmed is saying, I need to learn how to trade Forex, meaning foreign exchange, successfully. Do you have any recommended books or courses that helps? Are any of your courses helpful with that? Thank you. Yeah. So I don't think trading is a good profession, only because I think that we get fooled by randomness. And in the long run, it's hard to have a career based on that. But I do teach a bit about technical analysis. So go to my vlog and do a search on technical analysis. I've done a couple 20-minute vlogs on it because there's been student market demand, and the student's a customer. Customer's always right. Or you can take my complete financial analyst training course where I do cover technical analysis there as well. But I humbly ask you to please be long-term focused as well. Or if you're going to trade, use a small amount. Like when you go to a casino, you're like, I can lose this amount, which I never do. But if people go to casinos, they're like, I can lose this amount, so that's all I'll bring. That sort of thing. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Looks like there's no more questions. If you follow my vlog, I will see you mañana. Click the like button if this has been helpful, please. And if you don't subscribe to my vlog, I will see you next Thursday at the same time. Thanks again for your time, and God bless you and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.